Welcome to Seventh Helix podcast, the podcast where we ask, what does that even mean? I'm with Good Fiction, who started as a band in 2014 and finished 1 month and 1 week ago. And I had approached Pat about doing a podcast before I knew you guys were breaking up. I don't know. I don't even like to use that phrase.
No,
breaking
say
up.
it.
Breaking is
It
it
makes
breaking up?
it gives me some closure.
you guys, if you guys were in a relationship, you don't act broken up.
All right. We'll see how this goes.
But like I thought, and I agreed that the idea of doing a podcast like as after the band.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great wrap up.
Yeah.
I think
All right. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves just so that if we use names? I'm Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hi, Jim.
Hi guys.
I'm Patrick, and in the band, I guess we'll do like what we did in the band.
Yeah.
What we did, past tense. Oh shoot.
There we go.
But Patrick and I wrote majority of material and started off as a singing drummer and eventually graduated to frontman.
Graduated to front man.
I'm Alex. I've been the lead guitar since the beginning. Pat and I have just been doing this for a while, but it's been a lot of fun. Just doing all the fun guitar riffs and everything, running around, playing all the shows.
And you are new, aren't you?
Relatively, yeah. So I'm Jake.
To the world too.
Yeah, that I suppose so. Relative to the rest of you, you guys got 1 foot in the grave. Yeah. So I joined in April of 2018.
Yeah,
I think.
that's right.
Yeah, to play bass as the third bass player
Yes.
for this band, and then did some production and like mixing stuff for the projects.
That's okay. So you guys broke up.
Oh yeah.
Who initiated the breakup?
It's
I'm
well,
asking
it's
awkward
interesting.
questions.
We get to unpack this now.
Yeah.
Because we've been never actually. I mean, well, so
I should say this: when you guys showed up, you greeted each other like family members
no, we
at
are
Thanksgiving.
essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
We're essentially brothers.
And
We
it's
had the
and-
Thanksgiving
and-
dinner and all. It was nice.
Like I was shocked when you told me you guys were. How many people? That was the reaction. Like, wow, really?
Oh, it was
was-
most
that was-
people.
It was
that
the
was-
prevailing
Yeah.
reaction.
Which we were happy about, to be honest.
That's a great feeling when people were saying like, "No, don't do this."
Yeah, because
Yeah.
our it was one of those we had talked about this for about 6 months before it was going to happen, and we wanted to make it all very like we're all kind of planners, I would say, and we all think. I wouldn't say strategically, but we all do think ahead in terms of like, okay, like what's going to happen here and whatever. And it was one of those like we all saw where our futures were headed and where our paths were headed, and we realized kind of simultaneously right after the tour that we did in March, of this year. When we did that tour, right after we all, I think, simultaneously kind of just realized that we were going in different directions.
Sounds like the best way it could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Because there really wasn't a whole lot said about it either.
Yeah.
It was just like the way Pat's describing it. That's not the way it was talked out at all. It just kind of seemed clear that someone was going to college, someone was moving, someone was doing this, other
Yeah.
person was doing this.
Yeah.
It was way more fluid than what it sounds like. It wasn't just one sit down conversation.
That makes sense. And the
Yeah.
way you described your progress within the band, because I am new to Good Fiction.
Welcome here.
I went to
Welcome to
your,
our podcast.
I went to your last show, and you guys were phenomenal. And you
Thank
were
you.
saying how that was like something that you weren't always like that. Like it's something that
No.
you've like progressed to.
We really got it together the last show.
I was surprised we were that good.
Yeah, that was the only good one the whole time.
Yeah.
But so it seems like the band for all three of you has been something that progressed you. As a band and individually. So it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense that you'd feel okay with the fact that, all right, next step, please.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next thing.
Definitely.
It shocked me because my introduction to you was Right Stuff, the music
Oh, yeah.
video,
Yep.
which I loved, by the
Yeah.
way. I absolutely loved that music video. I watched it like a
We're very
thousand
proud
times.
of it. We are very
Yeah.
proud of it.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm so excited to see these guys. And then I saw you and you were like, yeah, we're done.
You got such an inside scoop.
I did.
Because you got that like mid to late summer or something.
Yeah, I didn't say anything because I didn't know who knew or didn't know.
Very
Yeah.
little people.
Yeah.
Like literally, it was kind of a circle.
Yeah.
our circle of trust.
I
But
maybe mentioned it to the Chromoscope guys.
How dare you?
Yeah, we actually don't really like them at all.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They're awful.
And
people.
Polar Seltzer is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
They
Let that be
really-
known.
Yeah,
They are terrible human beings.
yeah, I'd say so. Like the worst.
They're really good at play acting. Nice guys,
Absolutely.
especially on social media. But
They
don't
just do
believe
that
them.
to
They're also not
shoot
funny.
videos with
They're
you.
not funny
Not
at all.
funny at all.
Especially Nick. Nick is not funny. But-
Yeah.
So Right Stuff. I loved it. The song and the music video.
Yeah.
The song had a little bit. I felt like had a little Michael Jackson type thing feel in there.
falsetto.
That's the
right?
first
Yeah.
time I've heard. Yeah,
Yeah.
the falsetto.
Yeah.
Well, that was the direction
Yeah.
that we like had kind of shifted towards
Yeah.
almost, and I think we were talking like we talked once about like, you know, do we even want to play like rock anymore? Because I think as a collective bunch, I'm pretty sure that none of us actually listen to rock that much.
I was actually gonna say, yeah, like one of the things when you would ask like what really led to like where we are now with the breakup and everything. I specifically remember one time we were working on the EP in with Jason Brown up in Saratoga, and he had asked us, the three of us, like, what are your influences? Like what are your what are the music you guys like? Like, we each named three completely separate artists.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not the
Actually,
same
can
genre
we
and
do that
everything.
right now? Can we do that? Can you tell me your influences? I want to know what the
Like
differences are.
current?
Yeah, like right
Oh,
now.
Like
Yeah.
right now.
Current.
Like what is
Okay.
it? What is it? I guess
Ooh.
I want to ask this as two questions.
Sure.
Name one or two bands or individuals who you feel like influenced you, and one or two who you feel inspired by right now.
Sure. Yeah. Back in the day, the reason that I started playing music, like, and really trying to write songs, Jack White, 100%.
Yeah.
And they both absolutely know that because, like, the first, I want to say, year of Good Fiction, it was essentially a White Stripes cover band, just like me trying to write like that. And it was,
Your live performance felt a little more like that than the
Yeah.
produced stuff.
yeah.
Would that be
Yeah.
accurate?
Well, I actually, I like the Jack White, his thing and my thing, I think are pretty similar in terms of energy. Like, I tend to get to that almost, like extremely energetic, extremely
Manic.
manic. That would be a great way to, yeah,
Yeah.
I do get manic in those
You
situations.
seemed it on stage.
Absolutely. Especially because, well, yeah,
Surprising, because I've talked to you and it's a stark
I
contrast.
let it all out.
Yeah,
I really do.
It's not a criticism; it's just a fact. It's like
No,
in
absolutely.
talking to you, you're very like, you're precise in your speech, and you're very,
Thank you.
you know, I don't know, not calm, but reasonable. You know, you're not off the walls. You don't strike me as someone who I see in a group like I got to worry about that guy.
Sure. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It really depends.
Tor was a different
Tor was a
story.
A lot of
different
banquets.
Pat and I shared a bed for a week, so
Yeah, you were never the same.
yeah.
But on stage, I feel like if that persona translated off stage, I would feel like I got to worry about that guy.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It doesn't feel that way while you're on stage. When you're on stage, it's like this is hypnotic. This is fun.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
having a great
Yeah.
time. This is great. That's a front man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what a front man.
That's
supposed
my
to do.
that's my flavor of frontman that I think I like to bring. It's
Jack
that
White.
well, kind of like his thing is kind of that absolutely crazy manic energy. You really don't know what he's going to do next. Hopefully, like, and you're kind of tipping. Like, I mean, for me,
He also is not like that off stage.
no,
No.
He's
no,
the exact opposite.
no.
He's like very calm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's because of the same, I think that, like, of course it's like personality types almost, right? Like, I think, you know, people have some characteristics and then they have like a wing or whatever you call it, where it's like, you know, a dominant trait takes over for a little bit or whatever. For me, it's kind of been like, I have all of that energy under the surface because I think like even, and these guys will attest to, like, when I'm also recording or like thinking of a creative idea, I also get pretty manic. Like, I get pretty,
Okay.
like, I get a little intense, like not even in a good way sometimes.
I feel that.
But for me, it's kind of like it's always there, and then performance is like the way to release that. It's a good cathartic experience.
I can understand that, actually. I'm not a musician. I'm a software developer. I'm a software engineer.
Same thing these days, to
It's
be
like-
honest. Like,
But
I'm not even joking.
But
It's
when
like-
I'm working on something and I'm very into it, I am a little intense. I know I speak intensely when I'm
Sure.
trying to be productive and trying to get things done. I feel like if there was a performative aspect of software engineering,
Well,
I would
think there
also
can
be a little more intense
Yeah.
in those situations. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
But,
so what?
but Jack White, and then to answer the second
Yeah.
half of the question, ooh, uh, yeah. I mean, it's a stark contrast. Jack White, and then right now, it would have to be either Frank Ocean or Porches.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Frank Ocean, I'm going to ask, is that because you're really heavy in the production end of things?
I've gotten heavier. Yeah.
Because I mean, his stuff is so fucking
Oh.
fantastically produced.
Yeah, and that's kind of I drive from an artist perspective. I've realized at this point I drive from the seat of a producer almost. Like I do, like the artistry thing is there, and I do try. I'm trying to get better at starting with the writing, so the producing doesn't take over. But I've realized producing is like something I do whilst songwriting. So for me, especially with that kind of production, with like just vocals everywhere, very much akin to hip hop, whatever else. It's like that's kind of that's really where which is like literally like that is the exact 180 of purist
Rock and
roll,
roll. Yeah.
which is really weird.
Yeah.
So that from I feel like I've
That's interesting.
because I know a decent amount of of musicians and like how their tastes have changed over time. I feel like I'm one of the most polarized of the people that I know, because I just did a complete like I am blasphemy in the rock or whatever world I started from. So
You know what though? I don't think that's that uncommon anymore.
you don't think so? Yeah.
No, because music is so strange now.
Yeah.
Like the music industry is so strange, and when you're releasing music, you really want it to be really well produced because you want it to sound amazing.
Yeah. To compete now, it's a different scale.
But the live music scene is not like that.
No.
Like
Yeah.
you guys that concert. It's like it wasn't unwell produced. It just was
Sure.
like it
It's
was
raw.
more raw. It was
Yeah.
very raw, and I think people kind of want that. They want.
Yeah.
People want to have both of those things. They want to have your album, your studio album version, which is doing things. It's like the Beatles. You know?
Absolutely.
Like, you don't listen to a Beatles album. I mean, their music was I'm gonna go Beach Boys instead. So like
Okay.
Pet Sounds,
Oh,
great
yeah.
great example.
No, yeah. I mean,
Of
it's like the dark side of the Beatles thing, which
Yeah.
is like cool. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And like Brian Wilson wasn't even playing music with them
Mhm.
live.
Yeah.
Even though he was producing all of their music and
Yeah.
writing all the songs. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think now, I mean, as far as polarization of that goes, I think now more than ever, it's kind of like you're either a live act or a studio act.
Hmm.
That's my perspective. I don't know. Feel free if that's a hot take to jump in. But like, I think now, like the way things have gone are like bands
That's interesting.
bands specifically, right? Because that's more of a live market or whatever. Like bands get bigger because of their live act. Where if you're not like a band, your live act is definitely not what like
Hmm.
I'm not sure I agree.
Okay, I was waiting. I was like,
I do. So
you
Yeah.
do? Okay, 2v1.
I think
No, I'm kidding. Go.
I was going to use Billie Eilish as an example.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
actually
yes,
was
that's a
about.
good example.
I actually was about to say that. I think it's interesting because I think I've witnessed a lot of my friends do a similar kind of transition to what your music tastes have done, and I think part of it is because like trap music is the heir to that like punk grunge type, like that ethos.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's where that is now, is in
Mm.
trap music, because they don't like.
Yeah.
If you think about it, trap music sounds different now. The rest of the over the past like year, or so, like year up to 3, the rest of the industry has been like following the trap trend. But especially when it was first coming out, trap music didn't sound like anything else. It didn't
Right.
sound
Yeah.
like bling era hip hop. Like it didn't sound like the rap that was happening. And that like ethos of like, we don't care, we're gonna do what we want to do. And even like the live aspect, right? Like we're gonna show up and we're gonna destroy the venue that we're at.
Sure. Yeah.
That's like I saw Lil Uzi Vert at Upstate, and I was like scared to be at that concert
Yeah.
because like they were
Yeah.
going so hard.
yeah.
That's really interesting. I don't really know what trap music is.
Let's just put a trap hat and 808 on it.
It's like it's 808s, trap hats, which are just like fast hi-hats usually with like a repeating
Just
like
like
rhythmic pattern usually.
Okay.
usually triplet based.
Yeah. And then you just like, and then maybe some kind of like melodic or harmonic sample, and then usually fairly aggressive vocals.
Interesting. Who's an example?
Lil Uzi Vert.
I think I just don't know this like domain of music.
Well, I
Lil
also
Pump,
think kind
Blueface.
of like what you were getting to is like trap is like akin to the punk thing, because punk then after a certain point, because like anything, if it has enough of a following and it has a rabid fan base, it becomes mainstream. So now
Yeah.
trap is in everything. Trap is in anything mainstream, at least. you know
Punk
what I mean?
destroys itself with success.
Exactly. Grunge became the thing
Exactly,
that
yeah.
everyone wanted to sound like. But as far as like the live versus studio thing goes, I mean, honestly, like if you're playing rock music or if you're playing like guitar music, if you're playing music with real instruments these days, if you're not going balls to the wall on stage, you might as well not be up there.
That makes sense.
Because that's
agree
the
with
thing
that,
is that
yeah.
like even rock acts, like the stuff that I'm working on now is I'm doing a lot of stuff like playing to a click track and like triggering loops and like different effects.
Yeah.
So a lot of electronic elements with real instruments.
Sure.
And that's kind of the norm now for people that do use real instruments. But if there's still, take a band like Muse, right? That's been a part of their sound for a really long time because they're only a trio. But it sounds massive, and live it sounds even crazier.
Yeah.
Specifically because of the way that like they can interact with a crowd, and
Okay.
they can like
Yeah.
get them going.
That makes a lot of sense for a lot of aspects of our culture right
Yeah.
now. Genuinity is something, interaction is valuable right now. That's why everybody's on social media. It feels like they're part of your life.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Well,
So
and part of why, sorry,
No, you're
not to
good.
cut you off, but part of why Billie Eilish, for example, has such a rabid fan base is because of the way that she interacts with her fans. Like she's reposting their like post about her all the time.
Mhm.
You know, that when like she always makes sure that she goes out of her way to like interact with her fans in as meaningful a way as possible.
Mhm.
Whenever she talks about them, you know, she's like, she has this quote where she was like, "Oh, I don't like calling them my fans. They're like my family." You know, so that
Wow.
having someone like that,
being able
especially
to say that and have it hit land,
Yeah.
is impressive.
Yeah.
and especially as somebody who's like now nominated for what, like 6 Grammys or something like that at 17.
She's very good. She's
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to like her music to agree that she's good. We talked about this the other night with some friends. I don't love her music. I
Sure.
love covers of her music by people who I do like. You know, like she is very talented. Her music is incredibly good. I just don't happen to be a fan of that type of music.
Sure.
And I feel similarly about Ariana Grande. It's like,
Yeah.
can't deny you are extremely talented.
Yeah.
Your music is not for me.
I'm
Yeah.
in the same boat.
know?
Yeah, like I always appreciate what artists, especially like Ariana Grande, like what they do. I just can't, in my own personal taste, I can't just see myself sitting in a car listening to it. Sometimes
Me
it's just they sound awesome. I just can't have, I'm never in the mood for it because it's something I'm not in the mood to listen to. You know,
I have a very weird question. I do want to go back and get everybody's things, but I want to ask this while it's on my mind. Do you listen to anybody who like you could never say is technically talented in the way that someone like Ariana Grande is with vocals and like? So I'm using Tom Waits as an example. I love Tom Waits. He's one of my favorite musicians. But it's like it's very hard to describe to someone who doesn't know who Tom Waits is, and you put something on why you like this.
No, sure. Yeah.
You know, like
I feel like a lot of bands or a lot of artists for me. I don't know. I've had so many experiences where like I also think that's like I don't know.
the reason I ask is because I do feel like there are a lot of people who are fans of I don't want to box people in, but it's like I am a fan of what I know to be talented.
Okay.
I know that this sounds good. I know that they're very good singers. I know that
Sure.
they're very good songwriters, and I could hear it.
Yeah.
I guess for me, that doesn't do it.
Mm.
You know, for me,
Yeah.
there's like this other thing,
Yeah.
This,
yeah.
ephemeral. I don't know what to call it.
Absolutely. It's the magic.
Yeah, that's Tom Waits. He speaks to my soul. He sounds like the feeling that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
You resonate with
And
it.
that's the interesting thing about being an artist. I think being an artist, the job is not always to be like technically proficient.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's really like a kind of a on the position description. That's like low on the totem pole. Honestly, it's like not a
That's
huge.
a good point.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there who are like killing it and not technically proficient at all, and not even honestly not in talent, not even talented in a traditional sense. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
It's hard to really even describe it because I don't even want to use the word like that phrasing.
sure.
Because they are talented. They know music. They know.
Well, I don't know. I was gonna say like also like before Jake got here, we were talking about this, but the idea of channeling something.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have to be talented to channel something? I don't know.
I would
You know what I
say
mean?
anyone can channel it.
But how do you?
But for it to be channeled into something that reaches a lot of people, you have to be talented
Okay.
in some capacity. I
Sure.
don't know what that talent is. I don't know if it's like
Right.
I'm technically an amazing drummer, or I'm technically an incredible singer. I'm technically a perfect songwriter, like a poet.
Sure.
I don't know what it is, or maybe it's
Right.
just I'm really good at understanding what feelings sound like.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but for me, it's like to give that over to whatever's channeling, you're channeling, or it's channeling you, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and
Yeah.
I know Pat and I have talked about that at least somewhat, specifically in that exact aspect makes it hard to look that in the face and say, I want to be an artist anyway.
Mhm.
To say, I want to do this anyway, because it's not a direct relationship between how talented you are and how good you are
Right.
and how much success you have.
Yeah, right.
and good is a relative term.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, like it's really hard to describe. I think that a lot of the musicians I really like, it would be very hard to describe to like if someone poofed into existence as an adult with ears that could hear music, to be like, this is really good because of this. You know, I don't know how to describe it. It's good because I like it.
Yeah.
It really gets me. It, you know, you
Yeah.
use the word resonates. Did you say that? Who said it resonates with you?
Oh, I think I did.
You did?
Yeah.
That's a term I use all the time because it feels the most accurate. You know,
sure.
resonating frequencies. It's something's vibrating and it makes me vibrate in the same way.
Yeah.
All right. So I totally got us off topic there from the whole band breaking up thing. The reason I asked about the influence, like where you came from, where you're going, is because I'm wondering if where you came from is similar and where you're going is different. I'm curious about that. I don't mean to lead you. I want you to answer the question honestly, but like,
Yeah, I mean, for me, my interests have just always kind of been the same. Like the interest in the artist, interest in the sound, and even the discussion between producer versus like a studio musician versus like an actual like live band you want to go see. Like it's always been kind of the same for me, and I love that about like my music taste because I feel like I can make an awesome playlist these days. Like I've just been making a lot of playlists because I think that's just I want to just enjoy the amount of time that I have outside of a band, just cultivating and just enjoying all the stuff that people are making online. Because there's just so much of it now that I can get my hands on.
it's
Like we're way past the days of iTunes where I had to spend 99 cents on like all these songs. Like whereas now I can just have all these services and just find music, find videos, and just put things together and just enjoy what people have to offer all around. You know.
No, I feel that because when you
Sorry, I
when you
heard that.
hear a new song or a new musician that you've never heard and it gets you excited,
Yeah.
it's like one of the best feelings.
I can name off like a bunch that I just like. My main staples have always been like when I was younger, Red Hot Chili Peppers, 100%. Because it was just the first band that I broke in. I was like, holy crap, all these YouTube videos, everything's awesome.
Yeah.
But then like as I started Pat and I started working together when we were younger in like high school and stuff. Like I was really into Portugal the Man, which really
okay.
hadn't took off at all. And I think everyone that knew me when their single blew up knew like that I was really happy about that. You know what I mean? It was like something that
I
I was
remember
just,
meeting them
yeah.
with you, and it was like crazy.
Yeah.
You met them?
Yeah.
I've met them like twice at this point. Yeah. I've seen them about
For-
4 times.
yeah.
And yeah. But it's one of those things where I think everything they did taught me that music and being someone who can create music and create something that other people can join into and that it was actually attainable and not something you can just see on YouTube, really what made me want to move
Okay.
forward with good fiction. Like
Yeah.
a lot more so than any other thing, you know? Like,
Okay.
so,
there's
yeah.
some rawness there. I mean, there's especially with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a similar rawness there that I feel like that makes sense.
There's a lot of bands that have a lot of good energy live and a lot of ones that can do it
I'm just getting some water. It was making a weird noise.
There's a lot of bands out there that can do what they do in the studio and just nail it, and I love that music. You know, Tame Impala, like their newest singles, I absolutely love because it sounds raw, but I know they're literally in a studio whipping this thing up. You know,
Do you guys like the 1975?
Oh yes.
That's how
He does very much.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I like them, but
Yeah.
there are those. It's like 1975 is an act where like it's. Oh yeah, like most people are like, yeah, like I could see it, and then there are
Yeah,
the Jakes of the world,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
are like they are geniuses. Which I'm not on that page, but
I think they're very, very talented. I really
Yeah.
like them. I think Matty Healy, that's his name, right? I think
Yeah.
he's a very interesting guy who's got a long career ahead of him.
Absolutely.
And they're another example of what you were saying. Like their music is really extremely well produced, but live, I haven't seen them, but everybody who's told me is like they are a crazy show to see live.
I
It is
saw
like
them, and it
Yeah.
was.
I have not. So it's one of those like I guess I won't. You don't see the light until you see it. So
So is that your
Yeah.
theory? If you're a band, if you want to do both, you gotta produce extremely well and you gotta be insane live.
I think Dave Grohl has this interview where he was saying that like the way to make it is to have a kick-ass live show.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I'm not sure that I agree with that 100% anymore. I don't think that that's the way.
100% no, but I think it's especially it depends on what you're talking about. So like if you're an alternative rock band, yeah,
Right.
I feel like yes, you do. If you're a folk singer, no.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different thing.
But I do think that like whatever you're going to do, I think that because like we were talking about this before, but like because the market is in a lot of ways really flooded, like it might be growing in that way, but when it comes to things that are really good, you want everything that you have your hands in to be really good.
That makes sense.
So what I'm trying to do, like, you know, going to school, like getting a bachelor's degree in studio production, which is what I'm working on right now, isn't necessary. I don't have to get a degree to do what I want to do. But I'm going there specifically for learning as much as I can to do everything that I'm going to do as well as I can.
What it's in studio production?
Yeah.
Do you know what Josh Hasty Page, what he's in school for? Is it similar?
It's music industry.
yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
I've
so
talked to
it's-
him about this.
It's a
sort of thing.
similar.
Yeah, it's. I think there's probably some things there you're going to get that you can't get elsewhere, but there are things that you're not going to get except in the real world.
Absolutely.
It's the balance, I think. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's why, it's like your setup for the, in the time that you were in Good Fiction, it's like we would talk about how like hopefully that, for you, it's like it's a great balance of getting the formal side of the education piece of it and then getting that experiential, like, because I remember we were talking like a few times about like, how you'd like straight up correct your professor on something because he'd be like, oh, like this is like how merch works, or like this is how touring works, and you're like, not from my angle.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember us laughing about that because it's like sometimes institutions are out of touch. You know what I mean? Which I think it's very easily be.
Especially academia. I mean,
Exactly,
academia
yeah.
is theory.
right.
It's where
Right.
it's great. Theory's great. It's useless without application.
Yeah, of course.
And it's the same in reverse. It's like if you go out, you can do what's already done without theory with just application, but you're not going to get anywhere past it without the theory.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not going to push past. It is a balance, but that's my experience with academia too. It's nothing against the professors I've ever had or anything like that, but this isn't really how things work. This is theory.
Yeah.
It's great in theory. This is not. This is a vacuum. That's what we were saying. You have this space where you can fuck up.
Yeah.
You have this space that's in a vacuum where nothing out on the outside is going to punish you the way that doing your merch wrong is going to punish you. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and part of the reason why I'm so glad to be where I'm at is because all of my professors are still working professionals. None of them are like, they were like, oh, I'm kind of over this, or they couldn't hack it in the industry. So they're like, I want to teach instead. All of the, like the head of the program, he's an international touring front of house engineer.
That's awesome.
My theory teacher just got nominated for 3 Grammys this year.
Holy shit.
Yeah, my ear training teacher.
This is a big plug for purchase right here.
Yeah.
Go purchase.
No, I mean,
plug your school. Maybe you'll get a scholarship.
yeah, SUNY Purchase. What up?
What up?
Hook me up.
Eat with Jake Hite.
Give me a grant.
But like, next semester I'm doing an independent study with one of the other faculty who is a mixing engineer and works with top artists in the industry.
That's so cool.
He works with major label artists almost exclusively.
That's so cool.
So it's the type of thing where it's like, if you want to poke through, like if you want to actually make it through the noise, you just have to make it as good as you can. And so that's why, like, I have a similar story to Pat with my kind of like influences, because I think it's different once you realize that you want to do it. That
makes sense.
I don't like the 1975 so much because I think that they're like the greatest band of all time, or I think that this, like, I don't think that all of those songs are like absolutely incredible, but I think that they're doing what they're doing at the highest levels that anyone's doing it at.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
Who's producing music that sounds that, like, in that style, that's so lush and so like perfect sounding from a production point of view?
Wolfpack.
Yes, but a very different feel.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I have to play devil's advocate.
No, absolutely. But again, nobody listens to funk. But
I do.
You heard it here first. Nobody.
No, I mean, in 2019, right? Funk isn't one of the dominant.
Well, funk is Wolfpack. That's
Funk
the
is
thing.
coming back, though, to be fair. It is coming back.
But that's the thing, is that
Wolfpack
because
has taken funk and they're like, we are. it.
Wolfpack is a weaponized social media multiple times.
Yeah.
And
Their
then,
Spotify story is hilarious.
yeah.
When I
It's
read
genius.
for anybody listening who doesn't know, their story was because Spotify has this thing with listens where you get paid per listen. So what they did was release an album with, I don't remember how many songs on it. They were just blank, and they were each however long you had to listen, like 11
30
seconds.
30
seconds
at the time, yeah.
And so they were like, just put it on.
Yep. Put it on
And
while you
people
sleep.
did
Put it on
that,
repeat.
and as a result, I think they did get their money.
Yep.
But Spotify had to change the rules, and it made them famous.
Yeah.
It made them people they got famous for that, because it's like, that's funny.
Absolutely.
That's
They
a
were the
real
band who,
Well, they just them
pretty
and their,
funky.
them
But
and
you know
their
what? They
offshoot
wouldn't have got
band.
famous if they didn't have stuff for people to check out that people weren't like, this is fucking phenomenal.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's not just viral marketing.
No.
That's what I mean, is that whatever you're doing, like the 1975 also has like an incredibly masterful, like, artistic vision and like
Yeah.
direction. Their Instagram is super well curated. All of the stuff that they, like, all of the content that they release is all really well curated, on top of the fact that they're making really good pop music.
Yeah, they have a way of reaching lots of different types of people that's tough to do. Like the easy one is girls, right?
Yeah.
Like that one, yeah, girls love Maddie Healy.
Me
Right.
too.
But, but also, like, they're inspirational to someone who's like a sound engineer. I think I'm going to treat this conversation like talking to a divorced couple, because like
Okay.
like if maybe let's sound like you guys went maybe not divorced, just split up, like
Yeah.
we're still friends.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean,
Didn't sign that prenup though.
Or well, that's why because
I got all the money.
Fish, I'm taking all the money.
You're talking
Funny
about
enough, I actually still don't have the key to the merch box money.
oh, like the money. Oh, like the
Safe-
money box.
I just found it in the storage unit the other day. I was like,
Oh my
shit,
god.
I don't have the key.
I do.
I'm
It's
shaking
on my,
it.
It's on my keychain still.
that's another aspect, is the financial situation, because
Sure.
as a band you are connected financially,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business.
and you always kind of will be, because your music is on Spotify,
Mhm.
and you'll get listens, and you're gonna get royalty checks.
We'll
or
get
whatever
at
it
least
is, you know,
$3
like-
in our
At,
lifetime.
yeah, at
Yeah,
least
we're
a
not
couple
expecting-
dollars.
Yeah.
But I mean, the point is, you are connected
Absolutely, sure.
financially in a way that,
Absolutely.
oh, you're like parents. You are.
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah,
parents.
we're-
You gave
we're the
birth.
parents.
They're my parents.
We always joke, we're his dads. Yeah, we're his dads.
But
like-
your children are your songs in a weird way. They're out there in the world now,
yeah,
and you are financially tied to them,
sort of.
and so
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, we experienced a lot of that stuff. Our last, like when we started taking things seriously, more seriously. Let's say like the last, I want to say 6 months of us being a band, like maybe a little bit more than that.
Well, yeah, no, the last 6 months of us being a band was us trying to get together.
That's true.
So like we could like, because by that point I was already done at school. Like for a good chunk of it, I'm done at school. Pat's out in Boston.
Yeah.
So we've got a show coming up, and
That's
our
true.
lives are already spinning different directions.
Yeah. Well, that was like the last 3 months. But yeah, let's say the last 9. Let's say like the last.
Let's say
year.
the last year.
Let's say
Yeah.
the last few.
Well, I
years.
mean, even it like it was weird for me because joining, I feel like I joined the band at a point where you guys had to make the decision, okay, are we going to keep going with this thing, and are we
Yeah.
going to take it more? It was kind of a crossroads where it's like, okay, we're either going to go and take it more seriously
Yeah.
and like go really hard on this, or we're just going to kind of call it quits, because
Absolutely,
by
yeah.
this point you're down a member. You technically too, if you're trying to move up to frontman
Yeah.
like you
Yep.
were, so then it's like, okay, is this worth the effort? And then, I came and like hung out and joined the band, and then it
You
was
came
like,
as a messianic figure that just.
and then Good Fiction ascended because of me and me alone. And now here we are.
Yeah.
This is so interesting because I did a podcast with the Chromoscope guys,
Oh no.
and we talked.
Sorry.
No, no. It was a little uncomfortable.
That's
But
terrifying.
We talked about the first half of the conversation. We talked about what they did before they were Chromoscope as Pigsaw Productions is what they were called,
Oh, I don't.
and
even
it
know
led
that.
to this
Yeah.
middle moment where they were talking about like they had lost a member.
Mm.
And it felt like, are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Or are we going to do something? Are we going to go our separate ways and do our own things?
Yeah.
It's very interesting because you guys made different choices there. It's very, very interesting that how similar those things are.
That's very true, but at the same time, I feel like because of the when quote unquote, like the actual profession or the field you're in, it makes it a little different because simply we are a band, and it was in my view, like we reached, in my mind personally, like we reached a pivoting point where it wasn't that much about like making it anymore, whereas it was more about making experiences than themselves. We had done everything that a band traditionally does do as a rock band. Like we did do all these EPs. We played these major shows in the area. We made a music video that was honestly one of my most favorite things to ever do. Most fun creative project ever.
Which one?
Bright Stuff Baby.
That music
The one
video
and only.
is so
The
good.
only one.
Yeah. No,
But
I mean, because like Pat and I tried before to do a music video by ourselves, and it
Oh,
was
yeah, it
it
was
went
terrible.
nowhere. I still have all the
Terrible.
files sitting on like a hard drive somewhere on my desk. It's
Wait,
it's
I wanna
horrible.
see
It's
it.
like
I
whatever.
was actually going through them the other day with Jung.
Yeah, it's
I
like
want to see it.
it's one of those things
Oh,
where
it's-
it's such difference. But we did everything as a band, and
Yeah.
like we did what a band does. Where it's like at this point where we are right now in 2019. I could take it or leave it. We do anything else because we've already done everything as a band should do, and I feel like I've already taken those experiences and built off them as an individual person. And
Okay.
I think everyone else has done that as well in their own way.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. Yeah, you guys made a different choices than Chromoscope, but also the same choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a different way. So
Right.
I want to ask where you're going now. So I can tell that you are in school and you want to finish school and probably
I mean,
Want to-
honestly, ideally, I don't finish school.
what? What?
Exactly.
He's got a point.
That's
Okay,
what we're
so-
all thinking.
I'm working towards being like a touring and performing artist,
Okay,
full time.
that's what you want.
Yeah. And so that's what I've been orienting my life around and doing. So ideally, right, I put out some music and get picked up by a major label, and then
Okay.
I'm good. I'm cruising. But yeah, over my next 2 years, because I already have an associate from Schenectady, and then I transferred down there. So in my next 2 years there, I have to do a junior production, which is a minimum of 6 tracks, 30 minutes of audio, and then a senior production, which is 60 minutes and a minimum of 12 tracks. And if you do the math, that's an EP and then an album.
Yeah.
And so
can you release it?
yeah,
you can-
it's mine.
That's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And
It's like free studio. Well, not free. You're paying for it either way. But
I'm paying for it, but that's honestly the main reason that I'm there is because when am I going to have access to the kind of equipment that I have, the kind of time that I have, and also the people that I have.
yeah. It's a
You know-
SUNY school, right? I just visited Josh Morris.
Mhm.
He's working on his senior project. I'm guessing you guys are in a similar track, a similar sort of thing. It's with SUNY, and he was showing me all the stuff they have there. It's incredible how much stuff they have there. I was thinking, like, I remember when I was in college trying to come up with a reason for needing new computers, and like thinking about how do I be like, I need this $700 microphone, you know, that probably will break. You know, like that that I'm going to let teenagers use. I don't.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible how much. I'm not complaining. I think it's amazing that you guys have access to all that stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, I was recording a demo the other day and I got to track vocals into U87, which is not a cheap microphone. So when am I just gonna have stuff like U87s at my disposal? You know what I mean? And so all of it is just the point of me being there. I know that I thrive when I have as much accountability as possible. So if I'm
Me too.
in a situation where I'm doing a project where I know that there are going to be people watching it, giving feedback, and making sure that I'm actually doing it. If I'm going to be doing something, I'm the type of person that's going to kind of hyper focus and do it as well as I can. Especially because, like I had said earlier, that's what I believe at least it takes to make it, is you have to be as good as you can be with every aspect of it.
That makes sense.
So I've been really intentional with my social media presence because I want to establish myself, but as people are coming in and like first being exposed to me and my stuff, I want them to look at my Twitter and say, oh, he's funny. And then sometimes he like tells us about the stuff that he's doing. With my Instagram, I want it to be like, oh, okay, like this looks really cool. And sometimes he's telling us the stuff like about the stuff that
Can you
he's
teach
doing.
me this? Because I suck at this part. Like,
I'm just
I suck at it. I just had to remember to take my phone out to do a story for this podcast on Instagram because I forget about it.
Well, it's shown how, like, you know, whether you like it or not, the marketing has become intertwined with what it means to be an artist. Like, because we are our own PR and marketing team or whatever, like, and any creative, right? Like, obviously, like what you're getting at, and it's just an interesting thing that another, I would say, borderline paradoxical thing to deal with is the fact that, like, you have to be simultaneously like creating and documenting what you're doing.
Yeah, and how do you do that?
It's hard.
You don't.
You don't.
It's hard.
I mean, for me, the only way that I know how, which I haven't even launched my socials for my artist thing yet. So, like, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, it could go not as great.
I'm excited.
But what I found that can be helpful is, like, do all of the marketing work and all of the content creation work, front load that shit as much as possible, store it away. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
That way you can just fire it off at a moment's notice and not be like, oh crap, I need to create and I need to be this, but I need content. Yeah, because there's anxiety that comes with that.
Yeah,
shit.
there
Like,
is.
And I think a normal person living in the world that we live in today, so like socials are everything, right? Like, you post, therefore you are. It's very much like there is anxiety that's driving that. And even more as an artist or a creative, it's like, that's my freaking bread and butter. So I think the only way to do that is, like, for me anyway, I treat it like a job, but it's the part of my job as an artist that, like, okay, that's the part that I don't like as much. At least from like, I love the artistry of like doing content, but like the actual posting and all of that is not as much my bag. But it's like, that's the part of my job that's like I need to do, and front load that and then just like go from there. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like disingenuous genuinity.
yeah,
Sure. You know, it's
Exactly.
like it comes from a genuine place.
Sure.
But like you described, I understand. Like for me, I have a hard time when I feel like I'm catering or like choreographing or like
Sure.
I don't know if I'm using the right term.
Yeah.
There's a word I'm looking for that I can't think of. But when it feels fake, you know, and it's like nothing's actually happening right now. I don't need to document this right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like I haven't posted in a long time. so
sure.
I have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even like to go back to the 1975, right? Like, Maddie Healy walking out on stage in like big platform shoes with like a cig in one hand and then some red wine in the other hand. He's doing that because that looks good on Instagram.
Mm,
Sure.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the way that all like my Instagram, for instance, it's all things that happen and like come from my life. But I'm being specific about the things. I'm curating the things that I'm actually telling other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think what also helps is having an artist persona.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I find.
Absolutely.
There's
That makes a
another
big
there's
difference,
another
yeah.
hump that I feel like you guys have crossed that for me I don't know if I ever would. It's this sort of like, who cares about this? You know, for me, I don't feel it about anybody else. But if it's like I have a thought, it's kind of funny,
Mhm.
but then my brain goes, who gives a fuck?
Sure.
You know,
I
like,
think about that all the time.
you know, but you kind of have to ignore that in a way and just kind of
yeah.
I think that's why I think social media where we are, I mean, it's something that psychologically can break you down if you let it, but also it can strengthen you a ton if you let it or if you make it. You have
That
to
makes
harness it because your life is out there on the chopping block to be seen and your content is out there and you have to make a choice of like, do I keep going with it? And do I expose myself on a daily basis?
yeah.
And it's really that choosing, you know, a growth-based versus like a fear-based mentality, you could say. And that's something extremely hard, not to say like, oh, it's that
Yeah.
simple. It's like extremely freaking hard to get over that because we're human.
And
But like,
weirdly, my thought is very narcissistic. You know,
okay, yeah.
nobody cares enough to not care. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the worst that happens is they skip over it.
Says the man who has a podcast.
Right? Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Though,
Said.
right? But you know what I?
Yeah,
like,
no,
it's-
absolutely.
It's that thought is like, who cares about this? And
Absolutely.
it really should be, who cares if they care? They don't
Right.
care if they care.
Right.
They'll skip
Right.
over it.
They're too busy worried about themselves.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
but
which
I can't like
stuff-
psychologically jump over that.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
well, I don't
moment.
think
I don't
anyone
know,
just
it's-
get. I feel like you're a sociopath if you just like get over that. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I went on a trip recently with my girlfriend to Bali, and
Oh,
it
wow.
is
which we've yet to fully catch up
arguably-
on.
Yeah, it is arguably the most social media influencer like mecca in the entire world at this point. Like the people that go there go and take photos of all these magnificent like, you know, pools and everything, and just like all the flowers and stuff and like all the monkeys and everything you can see and everything you can do. But I swear, I did not sit down in a single meal where I was like, I could totally take a picture of this and this would get like 50 likes on Instagram right now, because they paint and they work at everything to make it so workable that it almost feels so, it's so good that it can't be true.
Hmm.
And I think that speaks a
Wow.
lot to a lot of the influencer and the Instagram and the social media aspect of things that we're talking about, where it's like, is it really that good? Because honestly, I still had stomach pains after I walked home after eating that bean burger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like whatever. It's
Yeah.
still the same
It's
garbage
really
burger
good.
that you find in New York City. Is it really, is anything we see online anymore really good, or is it just crap?
Yeah, that made
And
me
it just
think
looks good.
of a couple
know?
things. Because one, India just got the internet. You know, like
Oh, wow,
a year
yeah.
or two ago. So it makes perfect sense that they'd be like, yeah, let's get on this.
Yeah.
It's had a weird effect on certain ecosystems, like YouTube especially.
Oh yeah.
The
The whole like T-series
yeah,
thing.
the T-series PewDiePie thing, which was I found hilarious. I thought the whole thing was
So
really funny. Some people didn't, but I thought it was hilarious. But the other thing was, it makes me think of what happened at Mount Everest this past year.
Oh yeah.
Where like all
right.
these people are climbing the mountain for the wrong reason.
Sure.
You know, they're not
Well-
climbing to be like, I've accomplished this.
Sure.
It's a personal accomplishment.
They just
You
wanna
know,
take a
they're like,
photo.
yes,
It's
I want my
ridiculous.
picture. I got a checklist of things I need pictures of on my Instagram.
Well,
But like that's the
I
thing.
think
It's not even like a worldly thing though either. It's more of just like down to like a cultural aspect of things. You need to post because you need to show you are doing something in one way or another, whether you're an artist or a person. And that's something I just personally just don't agree with anymore. It's just I don't feel the need to drive to go online anymore. Like
Hmm.
when I do, it's just my own personal entertainment. I'm not going to show people what I'm showing, like what I'm doing. I don't care if someone sees that I'm doing something. You know, it's so
except
interesting,
for this
'cause
their personal
podcast, of
preference.
course.
'Cause you-
exactly. Yes.
you two are kind of very different there, because you're using it as a tool. You're very much using it as a tool, and I understand both ends of that. I
Yeah.
think I'm more I lean towards you, but I
Does
kind
that-
of
But
wish
I
does
get
that
the reasoning
create-
now. I get it.
that creates dissonance, though.
I
for
kind of
sure.
yeah, but I kind of wish I could be.
Yeah.
lean towards
Yeah.
this.
Well, it's
you know?
definitely like Pat and I have talked about that too.
Well, it's different because we're soulless human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. We're both incredibly
We're
narcissistic.
cutthroat and narcissistic now.
Well, no, but there really is a certain like tenacity and almost a certain like insanity that you have
Sure.
to have to say, you know, especially as somebody who like my parents don't have connections in the industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have a foot in the door.
Mm.
I just have to
Like Billie Eilish is great and all that, but her dad is a major. I think he's up there in Sony. Like I've
Yeah.
heard from multiple people
Yeah,
that
like-
he's like, you know, and there's a reason, right? Again, not that she's not talented. There's
There's
a reason
connections.
Yeah,
that
them-
she got, you know, to where she is. Like, you know, it's that's a big help,
So to
know?
so to not have that,
right?
and then to come from somewhere where you're like you're looking in the like you're staring the possibility, not even the possibility, but like there's think about all of the people that want to be rock stars,
Mhm.
right? Or that want to be, you know, artists, or they want to be in a band or whatever. And then how many people actually get to do it? And then how many people you actually hear of that are doing it?
Yeah.
So to be able to look that in the face and say, I'm choosing to weaponize my social media and subject myself to this all the time. I'm choosing to look that in the face, probably go into debt at least once, if not multiple times. You know, I'm willing
yeah.
to do all of these things for the sake of this because I believe in myself.
I think it's funny what you said
That's
about
really
Mount
interesting.
Everest, right? I
Yeah.
think that paints the perfect analogy. Why are you climbing the mountain? Like
That's
that's
all
that's,
that
what we
that's what
have
really
to ask
matters,
ourselves in any of our professions or any of our passions. Like, why are we climbing the mountain? And it all has to go back there. It's like, why are we climbing this thing? Because if you're climbing the mountain to get the photo, you know, you're
Your
probably,
problem.
Well, and you're probably not going to end up getting to the top anyway.
You're
getting
going
the
to
summit.
die
Yeah.
and probably get other people killed.
Right. And exactly how that played out in real life is like how it goes,
Yeah.
but like with professions, with career paths, with artistic endeavors, it's all like, why are you climbing the mountain?
That's so
You
interesting.
know? So when you said that, I was like, whoa, that's like the perfect analogy. Oh,
That's
damn.
really interesting. So actually, I was thinking the difference here, because you have more my attitude towards the social media. Like, I'm not natural in it. I don't feel natural in it. Like thinking of very successful bands in the past before there was social media. Let's use the Beatles because I think they're the ultimate example
Sure.
of the successful band. What would they be like on social media today? Like if
They'd
the
be
Beatles,
killing it. Oh my god!
I
they'd
feel
be
like
fun.
George wouldn't though. Like I feel like if they had their own personal accounts,
Keep having a Tumblr. Let's be honest. Like he'd be on Tumblr.
Yeah.
Like that or something like that. You know what
Ringo
I mean?
would be on
Harrison
dark
would have
web
Everyone
or
would
some
go
shit.
in certain regions and just call it a
Sound like
day.
4chan.
George
Yeah,
Harrison
yeah.
would have a podcast.
Yeah,
or,
that's
or
what-
he would
be a
have
great
he would have a podcast or like a YouTube channel
Yeah.
where he talks about his philosophy and his
Maybe
religious
John Lennon would
beliefs.
have the Tumblr. I don't know.
I think
Right.
John Lennon.
I feel like Instagram would be for
No,
John
yeah.
Lennon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Paul
I
would,
don't know.
Paul would be
aesthetic
Facebook. Paul would be
when
Paul
Facebook.
would. I think Paul would be Twitter.
Yeah.
I saw him
Yeah.
just be
Sure?
like,
I
I
don't
think
know.
I heard him in interviews. And the
He's
way
just
he
launching
talks,
Where's
off
Ringo?
it's
Where's
like-
Ringo then?
Ringo's out there, man. He's just,
Ringo's everywhere.
Ringo's trying
Ringo's
to
still
take it
on
all of them,
MySpace.
like-
Ringo's like,
Ringo's on MySpace.
I think that
hey
Paul,
guys, anyone there? I don't know.
I think that Paul, they'd all have like Paul and John would both have Twitter, but John would be very political.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
Paul would be goofy, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just
Sure.
being like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I can't do an accent like it.
what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
He would turn into like a New Yorker, you know. I don't know.
I love it. You know?
Yes, that's my favorite Beatles accent I've ever heard.
I can't do it. I
Hey
can't do it.
Jude, what's going on? Fasty cannoli. Hey. That's all freaking hilarious.
God.
They just
That
pulled
is
out an
hilarious.
Italian- no, that makes me think, what happens if the Beatles, instead of Britain, they came from Italy? I just feel
From
like that-
Italy?
yeah, I just feel like that would get all sorts of crazy
Or
shit.
Little Italy.
Yeah, yeah. Are we talking like New York Italians or like Italian Italians?
Yeah, geez. That's a weird, in the multiverse that happened.
That's a good fanfic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good fanfic. Where's the good fiction fanfiction?
That's what we wanna know.
Well, probably the Chromoscope guys are working on it.
You're probably right.
They
actually.
are working on a fanfic of local musicians.
Are they
Yeah.
pretty cool.
legitimately?
I believe so.
I
I don't know.
Right,
You
yeah.
never know. If
Well,
they're
we're not
joking
local
or not.
musicians anymore, so that's
Yeah, you probably died in the
We
van.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They probably killed us off already. Those bastards.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Can I ask about, because you did mention right? Is it? I just call it right stuff. It
Right
says,
stuff, baby.
but it's
Right
baby,
Stuff
but
Baby,
you, but
sure.
you did BBY.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hip.
It
It's
is
cool.
hip, very
Tip
hip.
as hell, man.
When I saw that music video, I was like, this is. I told them on the podcast that I think that's the best music video you've made. I think.
Thank you.
I think.
I think they agreed to.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I actually
That's
don't think
the
so.
thing.
I don't think they view that as the best. Their favorite work.
Jamie does.
Jamie does.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember talking to him about it, and I've had multiple
I'm
people.
pretty sure.
Like I've been at a few shows over the past few months, and people who like recognize me from the band, or like I'll talk to people who like know me from the band, and multiple people have told me that's the best music video they've ever seen Chromoscope do, and like that's the best music video that like any local band
Yeah.
at this level has done. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's
Jamie said he thought it was their best.
awesome.
So
Really?
I
Okay.
asked
It was-
under Chromoscope too. So like there's a difference because
Okay.
they used to make
Yeah.
short films and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
making one now. They're making
Yeah.
another short
I've
film
seen.
right now.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Pretty
Highwaymen.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Nick said it's a good. You want to hear that the last thing you made is the best thing that you made.
Mm.
Yeah. That's how,
Absolutely.
that's how we feel for
So,
sure.
It was really, whose idea was it?
Pat and I just sat down in this abandoned office space for a week and a half,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just wrote out
Straight.
these shot lists,
Just-
and just and then we worked with
Didn't
them.
leave.
we
Didn't
didn't leave
shower.
at all.
We hauled this up. We pulled kind of like a Heath
No.
Ledger thing with the
Yeah,
joke.
yeah,
We just
yeah.
like
We just
completely lost our minds.
Listen to the
in a hotel
noise.
room.
You just listen to the noise of the empty office.
Oh,
It's-
no.
it's I showed it to the people in my office and the people I like, and they all got it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Sure.
it's very clearly
Yeah.
a parody of The Office. You know, like the phones hanging from the ceiling, and like
Yeah.
the banana on the phone and the
Yeah.
monkey. You
It
know,
was very much, we went for that kind of vibe quite a bit.
for me, it was saying like, how weird is it that animals are in, like, we're animals and we're in this weird space
Yeah.
with that no one really likes
Sure.
all that much.
Yeah.
It's a really good project to me in my mind because we used it in a way where it's like we only had so many things to work with, Pat and I, and then we just
Yeah.
realized like, okay, Pat went on Amazon and bought these 3 animal masks.
Yeah.
Okay, right off the bat, like 3, no
great.
question.
Yeah.
There was no
Just
discussion
bought
before
them.
he bought them. He
And they,
bought
were,
them,
they weren't like cheap either.
and they're
No.
pretty good masks.
They're like-
honestly.
They're called
the
mouth
second,
mover
I think
masks.
the first one that comes on is the bird.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's like a little chin strap that
that's
sticks
you,
that's
underneath.
me.
And
Yeah.
the bird, and the second the bird shows up, you're like, what
Oh,
the
shit.
hell am I looking
Exactly,
at?
yeah.
Pay attention to
I
this.
got really good at like moving the mouth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can tell I was like deathly sick while we were filming that.
Oh my
I
God,
was
he was
like,
so sick.
so I
It
had
was
to
terrible.
just leave the helmet on because it was just like it was gross every
was
time I would
terrible.
try to like peel it off. So I just got good at like moving it. So then when we would be like shooting, it would just like come to me and I'd just be like,
Yeah.
then it's just a bird. It's
really
like
good.
a person
Yeah,
size.
The whole thing
What
is
that
done
mouth
within
do, though.
like 2 days as well. It was just,
Yeah.
well, it was over the course of like one weekend. We just
Yeah,
had the
that's
entire
awesome.
shot list down. They
Yep.
came in, they loaded up all their stuff, and we dressed up and just did our thing.
I really think
Yeah,
they make the best music videos.
They do
in the
such a
area.
good job.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like I was on a professional production set. With,
They're like the only
like,
ones to
it was
use,
crazy.
honestly. Like,
I got to
Yeah.
be on the set of The Highwaymen when they were filming it, man.
Oh, yeah,
they're
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
They are so
they have a workflow down.
professional and
You know what I mean?
it's so professional, but it's so fun. Too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was we
They
had
like
we had a
berate
blast.
each other
Like,
as they do it. which
yeah,
is
yeah,
great.
they're fine with the joking. They're happy to have the joking around
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
can get
Yeah.
like a little overwhelmingly,
Oh yeah.
tough. You know,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
dealing with a clock that
Yeah.
time is money, and
Absolutely.
and
Exactly.
we're like friends with them now, basically
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
I think it's impossible.
We
not
really
to
just did
become
the
friends
video
with
just
them.
to be friends with them.
Yeah, we
We're like, we just want to hang out with those guys. Let's do a video.
I think that's one of the reasons I told them that they're like the most well-connected
Oh, they
artists
absolutely
are.
in the
We,
area.
We've had
And-
jokes with them about how they are the most popular band in Albany. It's not a band.
Yeah.
Like they are.
Yeah.
They like everybody in music knows them, and everyone loves the hell out of
That's
them.
part of it is
you know?
because working with them feels both professional and fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and they do a great job with the social media too.
Yeah.
like
They do.
they
Yeah.
they do the same thing in person. They make you feel like even if they don't know you, it's like, hey, I'm a person, you're a person. Isn't it weird that we're people? That's
Yeah.
funny. This
Yeah.
is a weird
Yeah.
situation we're in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and they do the same thing on social media. It's
Yeah.
just like mockery of existence.
Yeah, they
and
do the
when
same
it's-
thing on set, or when you're shooting for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Yeah.
very like our feeling with them when we were shooting was just kind of like this is ridiculous what we're doing. Let's lean into that a little
Like,
bit. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
so many times that like somebody would just like stop and be like, "What is happening?" Like there was one shot where where I was kneeling in the hallway,
Oh
and you
my
can
God.
see it like super briefly.
Yeah.
But I'm like kneeling
I
in
love
the
this one.
hallway, and there's like purple light everywhere, and Pat is just like feeding me grapes.
Very
And
sexual,
so
very
I'm just
Freudian.
like,
just-
yeah, it was like wild because I was like lunging up and like with the like moving beat, like grabbing grapes.
Yeah, grabbing those grapes.
And
I think I do remember that little part.
Oh yeah,
It's
it's a
in there
great
for a
part.
second.
It's my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
super briefly, but because like these guys put in a lot of the all the work to get like a really well thought out shot list, and because of that, by the time we got there, you know, the chromoscope guys knew what they were doing, we knew what we were doing, and then it gave us room and space to have fun and to kind of spitball a little bit. And
Yeah.
a bunch of the shots that ended up in the video weren't actually in the shot
Yeah,
list.
exactly. It's one of those things where you like, you practice for a show, and then you're so well practiced, you don't really have to worry about it when you're on stage. It kind of felt like that exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know? But it was a music video. You weren't performing. I mean, we were, but like,
Yeah, in a
it was
way.
a totally different way, and it was so much more fun.
It's very.
My person, like, it was probably, I would say, the most fun thing I had ever done in the band. Like, I
Yeah.
had the most fun in that period of time, that 24 hours roughly, that it was like, it made me want to do, which I still want to do a lot. I want to do a ton of music videos, like in my music
I
career.
think that
or whatever.
music videos are a little underutilized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They are.
Because they're a great artistic expression.
Yeah.
And for somebody like the Chromoscope guys, it's like I think very mutually beneficial because especially when it's your idea,
Oh yeah.
because it's like that frees them in a way to practice their art and try
Mm.
to get something on screen to match what you're going for without having to do the idea part.
Oh yeah.
And also you already did the song and you already have all the things that you want for it, so they can just focus on the art, the creative part of it, on just the cinema, like just the cinematography and filming it the way they want, the camera work and all that.
Exactly.
I didn't get to say who I'm being influenced by.
Yeah, no, you
I would
didn't.
just I just want to
I
say
feel
it
like we just
before
never got
end.
back to that.
Yeah. I meant to come back to that because we did say the
We'd get back to
the
it.
1975,
Yeah.
but I didn't ask you, is that who influenced you as like your beginning thing? And also maybe it's because I'm being ageist and I think that I feel like you're at your beginning, but that's probably not true.
I mean, it's interesting because I feel like my window's closing.
That's crazy.
I know. No, I
think that's a common thing that musicians
I
feel.
understand,
You know what I mean?
but then it's easy for me to look at someone like Billie Eilish, who's 17. Her brother, who does
Yeah.
like all the production, he's 21.
Yeah.
He's like a little more than a year older than me.
That's how old they are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Let me say this though. So if you're an athlete, that's really a concern.
Yeah.
You know, like you literally can't do it past a certain age.
Sure. Yeah.
But some people don't get famous until they're like 40, you know, like, or
Absolutely.
at least 25, 30.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I know that that's a thing. You know, like I was really into the National for a while, and they're a band that like they toiled in obscurity for a really long, putting out good music.
Yeah.
But they just nobody
Unnoticed,
listened,
yeah.
and then they dropped an album, and then like Boxer, and then like years later, people were like, "Wait, this is fantastic!"
Yeah.
And now you know they're Grammy-winning
Mhm.
artist or band, the National.
Yeah. That is the like the two sides of the same coin with like music stuff is like, yeah, when you're in more of the athleticism piece, anything having to do with that, there is kind of a real cap.
Mhm.
With music, there's no cap, but it's just more the fact that like it becomes harder and harder, I think, to break through as you're older. But it's also just it's so nebulous. That's the thing. It's just so like it's so nebulous. That it's just
I get
it's like you could go, you know, any which way at any given time, and you're kind of like, well, why haven't I gone that way as opposed to that way?
I
And it's
imagine
tough
women
to-
feel a little more concerned about it
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
Because
No,
there,
but, like-
there is an aspect of like, if you're
Yeah.
a pretty girl,
Oh yeah.
you know, not to look at, you know, I don't mean that in sort of like that's all that people care about.
Right.
No,
But
I'm well.
yeah.
It's a tool you have available to you
Sure.
for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and that's a male thing too. Absolutely. Like
That's
like
true.
what you touched on again, like not to harp on it, but like the 1975, like I don't think that they would be as popular if it wasn't like
If Matty Hulu wasn't a dreamboat.
like he's a great looking frontman
Yeah.
who like also happens to be good at doing the frontman thing, and the rest of the band are like they're like young attractive guys.
Yeah.
His image, though, I think mostly. I feel like
I don't find it that attractive, honestly.
No, and I mean people like Post Malone, like people will post
That guy's
saying,
sexy as hell. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
they're like,
See, I
oh wow,
love him."
he's so attractive, and I'm like, he looks weird.
Yeah.
Well, before we forget, who is your
Okay.
influence?
Oh, of course. We gotta
Okay.
get back to Jake.
So, influences growing up, the 1975 wasn't really that. They dropped their first album in like 2014 or something like
Mhm.
that. So,
That's your like oldie artist. That's how
No.
That's like, oh yeah, when I was way back.
No.
1975, like
I don't know. I listened to, my entryway was just kind of rock music because that's what my mom was like a punk in high school. So she listened to like the Misfits, Dead Kennedys, stuff like that.
Okay.
And my dad listened to like dad rock, like AC/DC and like Iron Maiden, some Led Zeppelin, like
so
stuff like that.
interesting how that works. Like, because I had the same thing too when I was young. I really liked Led Zeppelin. Like, I
Mhm.
was a big Led Zeppelin fan. And
Yeah.
now I don't dislike Led Zeppelin. It's just not my thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a little too raw, for lack of a better.
Yeah.
Some of their stuff is very well produced, but like,
Yeah.
it's
But
very.
it can still be raw.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. It varies from person to person, like what is timeless and what
Yeah.
not
Mm.
That's true.
For some people I've met, it's like they will retain their first love and yet always be like finding new music.
That's
Some
how I
people,
feel.
they only ever listen to their first like
Mm.
like
Oh, I can't do that.
I get so pissed at my friends from college because they're just a bunch of like no, that's not true. But like they are literally like my friends from college, they are all kind of like they loved that early 2000s ish, and that's like
Oh,
what they want to
no.
listen to.
What is in that guy? I'm so old that I
I
can't.
don't know.
I can't
It's
think
like,
about what it
it's
is.
like Blink and like
Blink is in right now.
Blink.
I know Blink is in, but it's like they like that Blink though, not like
Blink's-
new Blink. They're like we want to go back,
Blink's
you know?
latest
Yeah.
album, bad news.
I don't
Not
know.
into
Hot
it.
take from
I,
Jake.
I guess I mean that one album is still like right now. I feel like every party I go to, somebody puts on
Yeah.
Blink 182,
Yeah.
Sure.
which is so weird
Yeah.
to me.
So I got into that. That was kind of that was kind of my like the door that I found in was like, Rush was the band that made me want to play guitar. I
Wow.
got into Nirvana because it's the vibe.
It's the vibe.
Like
Yeah.
it's
those angsty boy
it's
vibes.
cool. And then now I listen to a lot of weird music, but these days it's either pretty mainstream pop like Billie Eilish or the 1975 or Charlie XCX. All three of them have just been dropping great stuff. Or weirder stuff like Cara Cara Bonito.
Okay, I actually don't know.
They're like anti-death grips.
Okay,
They're like life
Interesting.
grips.
Life grips. The grips,
Life grips.
Yeah.
It's like it's British, Japanese indie synth pop
Wow.
Jesus,
with like industrial elements.
Interesting.
that
I'm
is
about it.
interesting.
That and then the Japanese house.
Yeah.
Ah,
Ja- I don't think I know anything about what he's talking about.
You
right
should
now.
definitely check out the Japanese.
the
house.
Japanese
Yeah.
house.
Highly
They're
recommend.
Same label as the 1975.
Yep.
In my opinion, better songs.
Wow.
Produced by Maddie and George the drummer from the 1975. So a similar vibe. I got to see them in Brooklyn.
I love that word
like-
vibe.
Yeah, it's the vibe.
It's a very Gen Z word. I feel like.
Yeah,
The
vibe
I
check,
still don't.
you know?
I still don't really know what it means.
It's a vibration.
It's the vibe.
I think this was
You
the
know,
best
like-
choice, putting the 34-year-old next to the 20-year-old, like just like on the other
I
side of
love
the
it.
table, because I just want to
See,
see
like-
this happen in real
No,
time.
it's actually
and I love
great.
this.
Like we're
This
we're
is
vibing
entertainment.
right now.
We're
You know, like
vibing.
we're vibing. Like
We're
this is the
vibing.
vibe.
Alex and I are like, we can say anything. We're like, we're on the same
Whatever.
page. You guys are just like, what the fuck did he just say? What is he talking about? Doesn't make any sense.
No,
It don't make no sense.
it's funny because this is like the first generation that I feel like
Disconnected.
yes, like not completely
Not- yeah,
disconnected,
yeah.
but there's
Like low
there's
internet connection.
definitely like you were just showing me how to use Discord because I tried to use Discord and that was my first experience of like I don't understand how the VCR works.
Yeah.
Can somebody show me how to rewind the tape?
Yeah.
It is
You
so
know, I don't that was that experience for me and it's terrifying, but
Yeah.
I mean, but now that you explained it to me, I do see why it's useful. I just these words like vibe. I hear that and I'm like, I feel like we had a word for that. What happened to whatever the
Sure.
word was that we used for that?
I mean,
Sure.
it's
Energy.
it really is just like the epicenter of culture is the internet now. It used to
Yes,
be
true.
it used to be in cities and it used to be in, you know, towns and carried through, you know, big like AAA blockbusters and stuff like that, but like the way especially young people communicate to each other is very, even when I'm talking to my friends in real life, like so much of what we say is heavily dictated by the way, like the kind of internet syntax
It's
that's
so funny.
developed.
You know,
But it's so dangerous because it's like you start thinking about the way everyone interacts online, like you're saying, like, and you know, like you know, like we've all seen before. It's like you're all talking in groups and more in segments that are all you all understand what everyone's saying. You know, what happens when those groups have to collide at one point? Whether you're like passing somebody in the street or you're doing something, and it's just
That's
like
true.
you don't understand what they're talking about, but you also don't know if it's good or bad.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's like we need to have more opportunities for everyone to actually like communicate over other things, like culturally speaking. Like for example, like I love telling my parents about new shows that are on streaming on like online. And I think it's one of those things where it's like it crosses boundaries.
Mm.
We need more things like that. We need more music and more like arts and entertainment to like cross those boundaries.
That's
where it's
very
like
good. That's a
where
good
like a
point.
millennial loves Miss Maisel on Netflix or
Mhm.
Amazon or whatever, and my parents love that stuff too. You know, it's something to
Yeah.
talk about. You know,
Yeah.
like I think it's like a double-edged sword. In that
It's-
sense.
it's
you
Well,
so-
know?
it's the freedom of choice
Yeah.
Yeah.
that human nature chooses to go where you're not feeling any sort of dissonance, any sort of cognitive
Mm.
dissonance, right? Like
Yes.
you want to go towards where they're like me, they think like me. That's cool. I'm going to navigate toward that. We didn't used to have the free choice to the
So
extent that we
fun.
have it now. But now that we have the free choice, human nature is winning over to the point where we're all becoming kind of in our own little compartmentalized
It's so
thought patterns
And
and
it's
so
not,
on.
it's not healthy.
I
you know?
said I
It's-
said to someone recently, I can't remember who, that I was like, that makes like I am the opposite. When I'm in groups of people where everybody agrees too much, it makes me scared
yeah.
Sure.
because I don't know if you've ever been around when people start behaving more like a mob than individuals.
Yeah, group think and all of that.
Yeah, it's and there's the positive end of groups too, but
right.
like
Absolutely.
when it no longer feels like this is a group of people.
Mhm.
It feels like an organism
Yeah.
that is made of people who aren't really
Sure.
behaving as individuals.
NPCs.
What?
Yeah, a little bit, and it's a little scary when
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like I could
Feels
blame
scripted.
any individual for any of their actions here
Sure.
because I don't feel like there are any
There
individuals
is
here.
just Legion.
Yeah, yeah. It's
We are
really-
Legion. We are not one. Yeah.
It's weird.
I think I don't know. I think so I think interestingly enough, I was kind of talking to like my friend about this over the weekend and just how like we're looking, all of us, even if we're like age gap, whatever, like we all look at things through the lens of American culture and American culture being part of Western culture and like American specifically, we are the most like radically individualistic culture that there is. So when we see any sort of groups really working together as such a group in such a community, as such a tight-knit community, we get scared by that because I think we're taught by Disney and whoever that like, you know, you really need to be your own person in a real way. And also that like, if you aren't being your own person, that means you're like a mindless like cog, which I think that's kind of the lens that we take it from.
There's a balance.
Absolutely,
there has
and
to be
that's
balance.
that's where I think there is a balance in it all, and that group. I don't want to call it group think, but like that absolute
mentality.
organism kind of
Yeah.
that feeling of we are one organism. I think that can be a great thing if it's for the right thing.
I'm going to be very nerdy for a second.
Sure.
I'm rereading a series that I read a long time ago. One of the second book in it is my favorite. They made a movie out of the first one. It's Ender's Game. Have you ever heard of Ender's
yeah,
Game? Have you ever read the book?
I had not
Saw
read
the
it, but
movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
The
It was
book
all
is
right. I
the
don't
book
know.
is like a billion times.
I've never
better.
seen I've never read the book. So.
And the sequel is called Speaker for the Dead. And just a brief synopsis: the first book is about these aliens have attacked us twice. They nearly decimated us, and humanity is desperate for a leader to take care of this problem. So they're like finding children to do this.
Yeah.
And it ends up that this kid that they find that's like their best hope, his name's Ender. They're training him. He's like super isolated, very much an individual. Like but he has to find this balance of what he realizes that the buggers or the other aliens is they have one mind. So they are all operating as a group. So the greatest advantage they have is that he can have, colonels or whatever, like who he trusts to make good decisions for that he doesn't have to, they can make quick decisions and not wait for me to make it as as the commander.
Sure, yeah.
So, but also there is that they do have to be able to work as a cohesive unit together. There's a weird balance there.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because that ties to it, but also the second book, there's this thing called the Ansible in it. This is so nerdy, but it's like
I love it.
They have
your freak flag, baby. It's like just wave it all.
This has been good.
they
Fly it.
We're done.
I'm flying.
Fly
I'm
your
flying.
freak flag.
They have this tool.
That's some weird
called the
imagery.
Ansible.
Luckily, we have cameras. He's not doing anything weird. Promise. Like, you guys.
It allows them to communicate instantaneously, and this was written in like either the late 70s or early 80s, I think. So before the internet,
It's like
and
it's almost like a staple in sci-fi
Yeah.
novels.
yes,
Yeah.
and it really explores what that does. When you can communicate instantly with humanity, and there's a part in rereading it. Because I was always, even though like I'm having trouble understanding certain things, it's weird because I grew up on the internet. Like I was playing video games on the internet. I was talking to people around the world. I thought it was so cool. And when things started going a certain way and reading these books, I was like, people don't get what a fundamental change the internet is for the world.
Definitely.
Especially like boomers. It's very hard to, because them, it's like, it's just email, right? It's like, it's just, just writing words down and you can see it. What's the difference?
Yeah.
It's completely different. It's game changing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean is I think that there's even more than usual. Like every generation, right? Like you get a couple generations removed and grandparents aren't going to understand their grandchildren, right? But I think that because of that, there's a unique and like very distinct cultural gap that's happening between the generations, because I think the big thing is not just being an internet native, but being a social media native. Because when I got a Tumblr, it legitimately changed my life. Because everyone on there is like, there are a lot of gay people, and there are a lot of really liberal people, and there are a lot of really funny people. And so there's all of this stuff, but like, so now I'm suddenly being, politically, right? Like I'm being exposed to ideas that I've never heard of otherwise. But that formed the way that I talk and part of my sense of humor. Like I know whether or not somebody was on Tumblr through like specific years because of whether or not like, like certain things are funny to them. Or if I say something like, I like your shoelaces. Literally, if I said that to somebody that like had and actively used a Tumblr from 2013 to like 2017, they would die. They would drop dead on the spot.
We were talking a little bit about this earlier when I was saying how it's strange how a lot of humor for like the Zoomers is contextual. You're not going to understand You know, I like PewDiePie. I only got into him because of the controversy that happened with him, and I was interested, and I looked into him, and I was like, this guy's funny. He's a dumb comedian.
Yeah.
Right. He's making stupid videos. It's hilarious. But there's a lot of jokes on there that you won't get unless you watch them pretty regularly, right? And it's the same thing with memes and certain subcultures on the internet. And there's this sort of the thing that I can't grasp is how Zoomers, for lack of a better word, know about the other subcultures memes. You know what? Like, I understand why the boomers and myself are like, I don't get that, but at least the boomers, I think, stop there because they can't understand the contextual nature of the comedy. I go to, it must be funny to them because of something I don't get. But it seems like the Zoomers just know. Like, it's so bizarre. It's like you can't all be part of this one thing, can you?
But that's the thing is that like there really is like it fundamentally even my friends that like I can tell a difference in my friends based on when they got a phone and when they got social media. Because that was something that parents hadn't really dealt with before. They were like, okay, when do I give my kids a smartphone?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Like, so I was one of the ones that tended to get things like that, have freedoms to do stuff like that more than a lot of my other friends. So as a result, I like that's more deeply saturated into who I am. So I can't like absurdist humor kills me. Absolutely. Like I can look at an image that's just entirely deep fried and like doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
And
None.
you have to like I saw a meme yesterday that I counted because I was curious. You had to know 7 separate memes to understand what was happening and have the cultural context to like put all of those pieces together.
That's my boy.
And
That's
there were
pretty funny.
It was a really
That's
it was a
true meme lord.
popular post too. It was a popular post.
It's funny because it's not only relevant there anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the big point is the fact that memes have become much more of a mainstream thing where it's
Donald Trump, man.
It's culturally recognized. Yeah, it's culturally recognized. No matter who you are, no matter what you believe in, you always find some weird, strange image of like someone yelling at a cat that just makes so much sense that you have to share it. And like I totally get it too because we've all been there. Like that one, like you just yelling at the fucking cat. It's just like I get it.
So
You know?
so how old are you guys?
24.
I'd rather not say. I'm 25. I just
All
turned
right,
25.
so you guys are like on the edge of millennials,
Sadly.
right? I'm on the upper edge of millennials.
Sure.
So I've talked to the Chromoscope guys about this because they're close to age with you guys.
They're like a couple
maybe,
years.
Yeah,
maybe
couple years
slightly
older,
older than you
yeah.
guys. But so I was right on the edge of Gen Y, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so my friends were more Gen Y growing up, but I had experience like you where I didn't have a phone, but I was, because of the type of person I was and what I found interesting, I was on the internet far more than most people when I was younger because I thought it was fascinating. I was fascinated by computers. I was fascinated by the idea that I could talk to somebody on the complete opposite side of the planet.
Yeah.
I thought it was neat that I could cooperate with someone in a video game in ways that, you know, that you couldn't previously. It was interesting to me to get different perspectives on the world. But because of that, I feel like it helped me. I now connect almost better with these younger millennials because they grew up with that the same way I did.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that I grew up with didn't.
Yeah.
And it really did have an effect. And I feel like you're experiencing the exact same thing. And you'll probably be able to, because you're like an older Gen Zer, you'll probably be able to connect with younger Gen Zers in ways that your peers now might not.
Yeah. Like I can go on TikTok and like understand what's happening and like make content that people enjoy.
So that's something we have in common is our generational encompassing, you know, our ability to span our entire generation and understand the previous one a little better. Because you're communicating with me very well.
Yeah.
Whereas with
This
some,
is great. I
know, this is-
love this exchange. You guys are like trying to figure each other out. What is
He's
this like?
strange
He's
creature.
like, he's like, I see you. I see you. He's just like, oh,
You're a
my
real
God.
person.
I-
You're
well,
not synthetic.
it totally went on a different tangent there. It's just, it's,
But yeah,
it's
I
not
see what you
often
mean.
I get to talk to somebody who's
No,
20
exactly.
years old.
But
You know?
I think
Like,
I think that's the funniest thing about it though. Like as you get older, it's weird how like little you interact with.
because it's weird. You don't want to be the creepy, weird old man
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
like
Dude, it's
injecting
hang out at a
himself.
park in a few hours. It's really not that weird.
People really don't like it for some reason. I don't know.
I don't know what the big deal is. But like, yeah,
Was that ever an issue for you guys? The generational difference?
we didn't really hang out at many parks when we were.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. What do you think?
That's surprising, actually.
Yeah, well,
No, I mean it wasn't an issue, but it was definitely like a thing that we
Yeah.
noticed and commented on. Obviously, like we touched on earlier, there's the practical side of like, okay, you know, we're playing bars. How
Yeah.
are we gonna get this kid
Yeah.
in who's under 21? But even just like stylistically and
Oh, yeah.
in the way like even in like our social media presence, like
Mhm.
I would just like make memes. Like if we had a show coming up, like I would just like find a picture that would like make a funny meme and
Yeah.
just like poorly Photoshop words onto it because that's funnier than good Photoshop. And then
Right,
just like
yeah.
then we just
Yeah.
like post it on the story.
There was a long time when like MS Paint was the best way to make something funny because
Yeah.
it was like I didn't care enough
Yeah.
to put any effort
Yeah.
into this, even if you
Yeah.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's weird. I want to ask you another question. I'm
Okay.
sorry, but
he's
Yeah.
just like trying to
I'm
understand.
with
Trying to
you.
dissect this
I
guy.
feel like there's actually a very similar thing between us, and one of the things is because we're on the edge of these generations. I've always felt this sort of inherent. There's something to be learned from both ends of this. So the people older than me
Oh, yeah.
definitely have something that I could benefit from. I mean, that's more obvious to me. But the younger people also have something that they need to add into this. Whereas it's a little frustrating for me because I interact with people who seem to feel as though the other side's not listening. I feel that way politically. I feel that way in so many areas of my life where the
Yeah.
other they feel like the other side just doesn't get it. And it's like, well, yeah, probably not. You know, that's an opportunity for you to teach them something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wondered that because I can tell when we're talking about things that are different from the way you probably experience life in general in a standard day.
Mhm.
I can feel you sort of pondering it. Am I right?
Yeah.
You're like, that's interesting. How does that apply here? Or what can I add to this?
That's also the
like,
Jake Hite
but-
way.
Yeah,
That's just
I-
also like
Yeah.
we know Jake's
Yeah.
communication styles pretty well at this point.
You take
and
a
know his
breath
way.
and go,
Yeah, Jake.
he thinks about it.
Jake is kind of the
He's great at it,
ponder.
though.
Jake is. I would say he's more meta. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Metacognitive than most people I know in that way. That's why we all tend to get along because I think we're all fairly metacognitive. Where like we kind of like take.
I like that term,
Yeah,
metacognitive.
yeah. Essentially, like thinking about what you're thinking about.
I am the same. This
yeah.
is why
Yeah.
we're probably getting along so
Right,
well.
right. I mean, you're a guy with a podcast. I would imagine most people with podcasts, to be honest, like very metacognitive people, because that's what we're doing. We're talking about thinking about things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, Jake is. We're all kind of like that. We could get in our own heads, but like Jake is, you know, in that sense, for people who are very, because being metacognitive is like I think a good thing in the sense where if you think about what you're thinking about, then you can take inventory of that and then you can understand who you are better and you can understand what your biases and so on are. And I think like when Jake entered the band, yeah, there was an awkward like little bit of time where Alex and I were kind of like, oh shit, this guy's like actually younger. You know what I mean? like that means some things because like he's looking at us a certain way and like we're looking at him a certain way. And then over time, all of us just being kind of who we are in talking and dialoguing about things. It was it's that like kind of mentor
Yeah. Yeah,
on
yeah.
both sides kind of relationship of like you know, we're learning about your side of things and like you're learning from us about other things, and it's just very, very interesting. I think that's in a lot of ways, which we kind of all talked about, like that's what pushed the band far towards the last part of us doing our thing, is because we were so shaken up by like different perspectives
Mhm.
across the board.
True.
You know what I mean?
I think it's a fundamental truth that if you're progressing in any domain, you inevitably have to become a teacher,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
and you won't progress any further until you accept that, because the only way to learn is from your student. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a weird thing, but it's inevitable. I think that's what you're describing. It's like you hit a
Yeah.
plateau.
Yeah.
And also just in a practical sense, in outreach, like I can't speak to these younger people.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't
Sure.
I don't know their language.
Yeah.
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 Well, and that's the thing, is that I have always been somebody, like, I like thinking about things, and I like thinking about how I think about
Me too.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like being intentional about stuff like that. So I have my dad and I, right? He's a Christian and comes from the South, so he leans pretty conservative most of the time. Interpersonally, he has an incredible amount of compassion and kindness, and he would never do anything to directly harm somebody else.
Hmm.
But politically, he, like, the way that he sees things, like, sometimes, at least from my perspective, like, I see it as, oh, dad, like, this is harmful to these people for this reason. And because of, you know, the wider perspective that I got exposed to younger, right? Like, he grew up through the 70s and 80s in North Carolina in a Christian family.
Mm.
So he's going to have, like, certain political, like, biases. And he's going to have a certain thought process for a lot of things. Whereas I grew up in, like, in Schenectady, in an underprivileged part of town that's, like, already kind of a melting pot in and of itself as far as, like, ethnicities and nationalities go, and then getting exposed to the internet and, like, pretty wide reaches of the internet too. For as much as I was on Tumblr, like, I'd go check out 4chan sometimes and see what was happening on that hellhole. Like,
Yeah.
so now I do serve as a bridge between older. I find myself doing that a lot, and almost like being like a translator in some ways, because I can take and yeah, like, I read a lot and I like being accurate with the things that I say. So I can take, you know, these like abstract things that people my age are, like, talking about, and, you know, explain to somebody who's older and be like, hey, listen, like, you know, even if it's something as innocuous as, like, this is what this meme means.
Yeah.
But sometimes,
Yeah.
like, that's what it is.
That's really
I get
true.
exhausted.
You should
by
develop
that.
an app called the Meme
Honestly, though, like,
Translator. Honestly.
that is a really big thing to really face, though. Like, I feel the same way with my parents. Like, they're very much more right leaning, very much more conservative than I am. But they'll get outraged by something that they see online, and I kind of have to talk them down to it to a certain reason, to a
It's
certain
like,
extent.
that's obviously fake news.
Yeah,
There,
no.
there's a typo in the
I'm the one
in
who told my dad the
URL.
onion is the onion. Like, I just, like, I'm
It's
not
like,
kidding.
where is this?
They were very outraged when they understood that satirical content like that actually exists to
Because they're like, we can't tell. They're like,
Because-
we can't tell.
because to
You
a
know?
certain
It's
extent, when
like-
someone's raised to not to look at the internet for news, and they start looking at it for news because of thanks to Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
Twitter,
Yeah.
the entire onslaught, it makes it very difficult for someone older.
It's
And I
felt-
totally get that, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you need younger people to, like, really explain it to them in a really soft way, to be like, hey, like, it's not to, like, make you go nuts, you know. It's just like, this is just how it is.
It's difficult.
It's,
like,
it's a certain form of, like, entertainment for someone else in a certain age
Yeah.
group.
I think it's
sometimes.
interesting, like, even if, you know, as far as like cognitive pathways, I studied psychology in like college. So like I
Okay,
kind of like
cool.
talking about, but like in terms of like older folks and like how younger people perceive stimulus and information, I would say our brains are, because of social media, because of the internet, we are wired every day. Thousands of decisions we make are, does this matter or does it not matter? And, or is this fake or is it truth?
Yep.
And older people do not think like that because their brains,
don't
they didn't
have
have
to
to
do
be
that.
wired like that.
just gonna say
Yeah.
that it's
Like-
hard to explain, because I mean, when I try to explain that, it's like trying to tell someone to chew.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know.
You have
You
to-
just
you
do
just-
it. I don't.
Yeah.
You know,
Just
open
put the
close,
food in your
open,
mouth.
close.
Just
You
make
know,
it-
like and knowing when to swallow. It's
Yeah.
this-
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
exact same
That always
sort
screws
of.
me up, actually.
Pat just like keeps putting food in his
keeps
mouth,
eating.
and then just like
kept
his
telling
mouth
him
is
to
just
stop.
full.
Yeah.
It works as an analogy
Yeah.
because you are consuming. You know,
Sure.
you're consuming
Yeah. Sure,
media.
yeah,
It's-
yeah,
it's- you're like,
absolutely.
is this edible?
Yeah.
Is this? How do you teach someone
Yeah.
that? It's very, 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 very difficult. And on
Mm.
the same end, I can feel myself being separated from these young people, being like, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Tumblr's a great example. I like went on Tumblr. Some corners of Tumblr, like I go on there and I'm like, this is awful.
Oh yeah.
And then other like there are areas of Tumblr I'm like, oh, I get this. You know, this is just like this is, and some of it I don't understand enough to make any kind of a judgment.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
I was
that has to
mildly
do
Tumblr
with why.
famous.
I think that has to do with why Instagram is the top platform, is because, like, I think it's more of like an aesthetically and not, if it's not driven by words specifically, there's less of an opportunity for that communication breakdown, maybe, like, because of and because of the fact that it's also a mainstream in the sense where like Tumblr's not mainstream, and like Tumblr's like, if you go on there, it's like, yeah, you're dipping your foot in some.
it's Tumblr and
Interesting.
4chan are like the opposite ends of the
Yeah.
same thing. It's,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like very extreme. Like 4chan terrified me at
Yeah.
one point.
Is it-
Tumblr
you're-
terrified
I've only
me at
seen
one
like
point.
meme
4chan's still
references
around.
to that.
4chan and
Is that still a
8chan
thing?
too.
Yeah,
Oh,
8chan is
shoot.
That's
arguably
concerning.
worse.
Yeah. But no, it totally is. And so like I was like mildly Tumblr famous. I had
Really?
I had followers in the 5 digits.
That's awesome. Holy shit.
Yeah, you're in the presence of.
But just because
Yeah.
but just literally
Show
just
some
because
respect.
it was like I like
Should have used those to get to get some.
Bow to your king.
Your king.
Bow to your lord.
That is impressive though. Like
It is, I've never been on Tumblr. I don't know what it means. It's cool,
Yeah.
it's cool,
Well-
you know. It's very, it's very.
Tumblr is
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
and
interesting
that's
vibe.
the thing is that there's no like but nobody else can see that. That's the thing is you can't click on my profile. Like you can't click on my blog on Tumblr and see how many followers I have or how many people I'm following.
that's weird.
Which
Because
is
that's
also
not
where
what it's
Instagram
about.
may be going towards as well, from what I've
Yeah.
heard. Instagram, I think they're
Well, I don't
going.
know how I feel about that.
A lot of people don't know how they feel. I feel like I've heard it's a legitimate thing. Like their Facebook or whatever through
They're-
Instagram will be
They
rolling
don't
out
want people seeing who likes what.
exactly and how many likes
That
anything has.
I think it's good to get rid of that feed where you can see what people like. I think that
I think it's gonna throw everything off.
yeah.
It's just gonna make it weird. Like everyone's so
Yeah.
used to it already. Let's just accept for what it is.
Well,
and
it's
just-
also
yeah.
like the framework behind, kind of back to the whole mountain climbing like analogy and like why people do things. Like
Yeah.
the whole framework, I think I would wager a majority of people on social media do social media because of the fact that they feel that ego boost, because they know, very few, I think fewer
That's
people
true.
than not
Yeah.
have
When
going.
people click the button and my brain releases the happy goo.
Yeah,
It's that,
Yeah.
it's that happy goo we're
Yeah,
all chasing, man.
dopamine.
Yeah.
Like we're all addicted. I mean, everybody has always been addicted to dopamine.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
we've
Yeah.
never had
That's dope.
access to
just so much dopamine.
Yeah, like for such a
Yeah.
minimal effort.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
need
it's
to
rewiring our brains.
It's just one of those things where I feel like if any social platform makes any difference, everyone's just gonna flock to the next one that's giving you that that drive.
That goo.
And it's always gonna be a news platform, and that platform's gonna get bought by another major platform, and it's just
Yeah.
gonna continue being this major onslaught of just
Yeah.
I don't
We
know.
talked
And then we're
about
It's
gonna
gonna be
be
just gonna be a mess. It's
me,
always gonna be
me
a
and
mess.
Jamie talked about the close friends thing and how it's like it's only a matter of time before somebody charges money to have access to their close friends.
Yeah.
And,
So-
I'm not-
Really?
I'm-
Oh,
and
yeah.
honestly, I think
Oof.
people should just never just buy into that stuff. Like we're only gonna give. I think people should only give so much data to these silicone giants that we should. Honestly, like I don't think we should be continuing to be jumping into the next big thing, like facial recognition stuff. You know,
Mm.
like the big face AI stuff. Like I don't want people seeing images of my face all the time. You know, it's
Russia
such a
already has
dangerous.
it.
It's such a dangerous. Exactly. It's such a
Russia has
dangerous-
it all.
You know what's
The whole,
funny?
it's such a dangerous territory.
I think almost every episode of this podcast we end up talking about social media because it's
Yeah.
I actually thought about the name Digital Soma as a name for the podcast. Do you know what Soma is? It's from A Brave
gone-
New World. It's
Okay.
a drug they're all taking to
Yep.
keep them like happy, to
Yes.
keep them like
Yeah, yeah,
stupid
yeah.
and not worried about anything. Every time they have a bad, any kind of a negative feeling, they take the Soma. So it's Digital Soma. That was my
Sure.
idea for, but
Absolutely.
I didn't want to be that that like ice that like
You don't want to brand yourself as that.
I didn't want to
Yeah,
be just talking about
Sure.
that, but
Makes
it does seem to be something
comes
that
back to
everybody is concerned
Well,
about.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's also I would say, and from my experience, I would say that normal people, meaning
Normies.
Normies.
Facebook users?
Well, I would say non. Yeah, I would say. So you're again coming from like research psychology or whatever. Like your population that you are currently, kind of doing this experiment with is more so a creative population.
True.
And thus, any creative to get anywhere, you need to thus like do socials like
need
no
it.
one's freaking
Absolutely. You
need
business. So I think that's where that ties in.
That's
I think
true.
people who are not doing any sort of art form, because I have a lot of friends like from college specifically where like they were like more like athletes that I became friends with, or like prior athletes, right? And like not so super artistic people. And with them, it's absolutely like social media is not a thing that they think about that much.
Agree. I actually
You know what I
have
mean?
a lot of athletes that I grew up with
Yeah.
too, and they don't have it's like
No,
I don't
it-
care.
yeah.
I don't,
Yeah,
That's
but
very
anybody
true.
like with any sort of like really creative or artistic kind of endeavor, I think that's actually pursuing it. I
You're
think
right.
it's like a necessary evil, maybe a necessary
Yeah.
whatever.
They also tend to be metacognitive, like you said,
Yeah.
sure
and
yeah,
thinking
sure.
about what effect this is
Sure.
having.
So, like in terms of the population that you're sampling, that
Mhm.
population could make a difference.
That makes sense.
That's true.
Just using.
It really comes down to like riding
yeah.
the trends, in
Yeah.
my view. Like the people who ride the trends are the ones who want to grab the attention. And when you're on
Sure.
social media, I think those are the people that you look at. And you look at the artists, you look at the influencers, you look at not even just influencers in the sense that it's like, oh, like I make $1,000s off my products that I just show off because I look really nice. It's also just the artists, it's the brands, it's the music, it's
Yeah.
the playwright, it's the culture and everything. It really comes all boiled down to one thing. It's just the fact that everyone just always wants everyone to look at everything.
Yeah.
So
in a
true.
really weird nutshell.
Well, and
you know?
you can use it really well. Like
Yeah.
Adrian Lewis, like the way
Yeah.
that he's basically an Instagram influencer.
I know. I talked to him a little bit about it.
Yeah, and he has one song out,
I know.
but like
Yeah.
he's like thriving in the area, and I would like he's an incredible player and he's an incredible musician and he's really fun to hang out with. But like a big part of it and a big part of the reason why people show up to his shows is because he has like a consistent and engaging social media presence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like I would follow Adrian even if he wasn't a musician.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah. He could be like a model. He
Right.
could just be some guy.
Yeah.
You know.
I follow Lil Nas X on Twitter not because I thought that Old Town Road was the best song of the year or even liked it that much, but
Well,
because
it
like
was the best song of the year to
Obviously.
keep the record straight here.
I think the fact that he's a musician makes me engage more with his stuff, though.
yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
totally.
That's very
Well, that's the
thought.
interesting now though is like is the art form just the icing on the cake, or is it the cake itself, or is like you're just the looking good is the cake and then the art form is the icing on the like to me
Yeah.
nowadays like to differentiate an
Wow.
influencer and a musician or an influencer any sort of creative, it's a real thin line,
Mhm.
real
Yeah.
thin. It's like to do one thing, you
Yeah.
need to do the other. And sometimes the other thing, aka like socials, are like the thing that you need to do before you do the thing that you
So
originally wanted to do. It's
Yeah.
like it's kind of fucked, but like it's also
Yeah.
very interesting.
There's
Well,
an
we-
art to it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that is what
That's the
I've
key.
dealt with is like, how do you find the fun in it? And how do you find your art form and being an artist in that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Some
I don't
people
know.
seem to do it intuitively. I feel like the younger
Sure.
people.
yeah, well,
seem to
they're
do
yeah,
it
they're
like-
trained.
I feel like that's always the thing. The younger people always do it the best.
Yeah.
No matter what time you're growing up in.
Yeah.
Like I think when we were first starting the band, we
We're shit at socials.
We thought we had it right.
Absolutely.
We didn't
Really?
have
Oh.
nowhere near even understanding.
Hasty
what
didn't-
it
we
was
didn't-
meant to
does
do.
really
You
We
know
didn't
what I
get
mean?
our
Like,
socials together till like a year ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, we
Like,
really didn't start
legitimately,
sitting
like-
down and bearing everything straight until
Yeah.
we really meant like, okay, this guy should do something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
We didn't even see that's the thing, the value assignment. Like we didn't see the value in it.
Yeah.
And we're also got, I didn't see at that point, like for me personally, like the fun in it at all. It was like
I
a
don't see
chore.
the fun in it.
I've
It
started
can be
to
really
see
be
the
a
fun.
chore.
That's the thing.
You should follow me on Twitter.
I
Then
will.
you'll have fun.
I gotta like.
At Jacob Luke Hite on Twitter.
I
This
touch-
is like
my
Jake
heart
teaching all of
melts.
us how to do social media right now.
Yeah, I know. You
It's
should
like
you
so.
should have a
When I
class.
typically post
Yeah.
on like a Wednesday, let's say Wednesday at high noon, if you will.
Zoom in.
But it really,
I love it.
But like to go back to like good fiction specifically, it really was a little bit of a thing because I was coming in with like in a bunch of different ways,
Yeah.
a different perspective.
Mm.
Like not only was I younger, but also like I play classical guitar. You know, like I go to music school and like I spend a lot of my free time studying engineering and music theory and like practice the guitar all the time and stuff like that. Whereas like which automatically changes your relationship to music compared to people who like playing instruments and then like started a band with their friends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so like obviously I'm not saying that like I'm doing anything the right way, but that was just a different perspective coming into it where it was like I just we all kind of realized a couple times that I was just viewing things from a fundamentally different point of view.
Yeah.
And then it just like it was never really there was definitely like growing pains, I guess, sometimes. And I'm also a pretty confrontational person too. Like I won't back down. Like
And
if
I
I think I'm
loved it.
right.
Seriously, like I think to that note, I mean to cut you off in any way. Just
No, yeah.
Jake made a great execution of that being a bandmate in this group because Pat and I, for the longest time, we've always just been
Yeah.
it's been very standoffish at certain points on certain views on certain like what do we want to do.
Yeah.
It,
We need a
it
tiebreaker.
It means so much to have a third person in the room. It literally moved us as a band.
Oh yeah.
Like when James first came in, that's when I first got a taste of it. Because before then, Taylor didn't always have
Our
an
first
opinion on
bandmate,
things.
Taylor-
He didn't have opinions. On
Yeah,
things.
Taylor literally did
We
not
should have
give.
mentioned Taylor.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, I love Taylor. He's one of
Yeah.
my like good friends, but he's one of those guys who like I literally don't know when he's gonna turn up next. Like, in my life.
he can come in right now. I
Like-
wouldn't know it.
I,
Like, he
I
has-
wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah.
Taylor, like
honestly.
in the nicest way possible, he does not give a shit about anyone. You know what I mean? Like and that's just who he is. And Taylor would be, Taylor had his own agenda with the whole thing. Not like he was trying to undermine it. He wants to be a classical bass player in an orchestra. That was his goal from day one, and he ended up. I don't know how, but I coaxed him into being in a blues rock band, like for a time.
And he did great, honestly.
And he did fine. But
it
it was
was
one of those,
awesome.
like he like literally whenever he would ask about anything, he was kind of like,
Yeah.
"Bros, I don't give a shit." Like
we would so many times go to his house and knock on his door for literally like
early
probably
good
an hour.
early good fiction.
Yeah, the show was at like we had to load in at 6. We're at his door by 4. We're ringing on the bell till like 5. Like literally just like Pat and Pat lives like an airport over, so it's okay. We're like, okay, let's go back and check on him
At
a
the
little bit.
time, yeah.
Literally, like, the guy, he was like asleep or something, or he wasn't there. It was just like it was just Taylor being Taylor, and it made the band such a chaotic thing at the time that like I think we just had to just really get it out on stage.
Alex and I would like in that way, like it solidified us like joining together on a lot because it was kind of just like we need to get this like
Dealing with the
toddler to the
aggression.
show somehow. Like once he gets to the show, like it's like somebody who's drug addicted, but like he's not drug addicted at all. He's just like acts like that kind of like he's just. It's like 5 in the afternoon. 5 at night.
It's like, dude, you should be up by now.
And he's not because he had been playing classical bass up until 5 the previous night, right? So like it was very. So he's very devoted to his craft, but his craft was not our craft. You know what I mean? So early good fiction was dealing with that, and any ideas that we would bring, he was basically
He'd be like, I'll
just
play
a
it,
brick
and
wall.
go. Yeah.
basically.
Oh,
Like,
gross.
thank goodness we had Jake come along because I feel like he
For
really
those
helped
amazing
challenge
jokes.
us
Yeah.
for these things. Like
Yeah.
like James was a great step in the right direction. Like he was there, but unfortunately we knew he wasn't gonna be there the entire time. Like he had other
Our
goals in
second
mind right
bassist,
away.
James, he basically gave us an exact timeline. He
told us
said
right away.
He said, "I'm getting married in a year. After that point, it's over."
Yeah.
And he
And
he
it
stayed
worked.
true.
It
to
worked
it.
for a year.
Yeah,
It worked for a
it
year.
was
It
correct.
was great. We played some awesome shows. and it was great having him there for along the ride.
Yeah.
And then Jake came along and it was even better because it was someone that we knew, like, okay, we can depend on you because, like, you knew of James already. Like, you were close friends with him already at that point. Like, okay, I feel like I could trust this guy already right off the bat, no matter what his age was, no matter what his interests were outside of the band. I feel like I could trust this dude the minute I saw him at Pat's kitchen. You know?
You do need
that
someone
moment.
with that that sort of willingness to confront issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
He's the opposite of a yes man. He's
we
a no
are-
man all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
No
He's like a why man.
That's really why.
An existential
Yeah.
why metacognitive man.
Yeah, it's-
that's really what Jake, like, because I used to be that, and then like I've changed a lot over the past few years. I think, I don't know if you know me pretty well, so you maybe not, but like as far well, not saying you didn't, but like I'm saying I don't know if you think
I know what
that
you're
I've
saying.
changed. You know what I mean? No, you're the exact same. Move on, you piece of shit. Grow up. No, but like it was just interesting how like when you came in, the dynamic of the band changed from me. I used to be the like, let's think about things for hours and like never get any shit done. And I had to become the, no, we're getting shit done because Jake, you've been thinking about this for 3 hours.
Right.
It's amazing that you're thinking about that because it like really, like it deepened our everything. It really deepened just why are we doing this? You know, why should we go on tour? Should we not? Should we end the band? Should we not?
Yeah.
Why are we climbing the mountain?
Well,
Like,
and
why
I-
are we doing this at
And
all?
I also
Yeah.
joined.
I like that. Why are we claiming?
I also joined, like I said earlier, at that crossroads where
Right.
they had made the decision that since they were going to look for someone,
Right.
like they were ready to like hit the
Yeah.
road.
And we said when we auditioned you or whatever, it
Yeah.
was like we kind of told you. I'm pretty sure I said something like, yeah,
What?
Jake's in his rapper form now. Get ready. Little Jeezy over here. I love that. That's. But
that sounds like really
in the-
mutually beneficial for everybody
yeah.
here. The
Yeah,
band
yeah.
needed it.
Like,
you
full
needed
disclosure.
you needed something to was like, I need something serious. I need
Yeah,
something that's
Absolutely.
like,
I mean, this is
yeah.
my first band. Like I had been saying for a while up until that point. Like I'd known what I wanted to do for a while, but it's really intimidating when you don't have anything. Because up until this point, like we were saying, you know, like with like writing my own music, right? I would get to the point where like I would just tear everything apart like immediately. And so there was a point where like I had this project that I had to work on for school that I had to use original music for. And like I was over at Pat's house having like a mental breakdown because it was mid-October. It had to be done before Christmas. And I didn't have anything tracked for any of the songs. I only had 1 out of 4 written.
Yeah,
And then Pat was just like, shut up, sit down. We're tracking a demo right now.
and we did.
I know that was your evolution. I'm guessing to get to that point.
In terms of like
That like, just shut up. This is like, was that part of your evolution as an artist, and also the way like I need to teach? You're ready to teach this to somebody that like.
Yeah, I think you know, for me personally, like, yeah, our relationship, you know, and all of our, you know, being together, you know, like over the past year, it really transformed me
Mhm.
because I used to be a real yeah, which a lot of people are, I think, with music specific, like musicians tend to be when they start out, they tend to be like all about the thinking about, you know, various
Yeah.
things and never really actually executing anything.
I don't think it's just music.
Okay, good.
I think it's literally.
I'm like, I don't want to
everything.
speak for
Yeah.
other crafts
no,
or other
no,
creatives
yeah.
because I just know them, you know, but it's and I realized, you know, through kind of you know, our specifically with you writing in the way that you do and me writing in the way that I do and kind of us interacting in that way. Yeah, that teacher kind of somewhat mentor-ish thing that we had going on, it really solidified in me that willingness and that knowledge to like push things forward
Right.
for and now I almost swung to the opposite side of the pendulum a little bit. I think they are still, and I'm going to come back, but like I've yet to like put out my artist thing that I'm going to put out in 2020. I have 2 EPs done and I have a third that's halfway tracked.
Really?
And, right.
Yeah.
And it's
He's an animal.
yeah, because I write in a flurry, and because what we've done in the past year is good fiction. It for the first time I got my shit together in terms of planning,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of like in a manic, you know, energy I create, and I never really followed through or executed. And then the past year with what we did and like what, you forced me to do and we all forced each other to do through like what we tried to accomplish, that's what like it for me, it like sent me on a real barrel down of like, I'm just going to execute this shit because like YOLO or whatever.
Do you think so? Sometimes I wonder.
I haven't heard anyone say YOLO in like
I just thought
years.
I'd squeeze it in. Yeah, I thought I'd squeeze it in for like ironic content. Like,
It was cringy.
did you think
You just
so?
posted cringe, bro.
I'm really
No.
old. We had I don't remember how long ago this was, but a buddy of mine, you'd have to know him to know how funny it is that he's the person who had this. He had a slap bracelet that said YOLO on it. He
Yeah.
would do it in like a moment. Like it was just like, we're doing this. And,
I want to bring this back.
Yeah,
I want to be like,
and-
slap bracelets.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I had this idea that like we all need to get YOLO slap bracelets, and once a summer we each get one, and you each get to use it
Wow,
once.
yeah.
And it means everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a pact. If I use my YOLO bracelet, you're in.
Everyone's
I'm
doing
making
cake
this-
stands. Let's
Yeah.
go.
But so this mentor thing, because I've had a similar moment where I recognized in working with other people in other things that I was like saying they were freaking out, like we're not going to meet our deadline.
sure.
Nothing's getting done. And it's like in my head, I was going, yeah, we're not going to meet the deadline. Nothing's going to change here, but we're definitely not moving forward. This isn't helping.
Right.
So like there was that, I had a day where I was like working with them.
Just
and
had to take my earrings out. They were poking me.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was the idiot
I
who
was
didn't
like, dude,
who
what are you
didn't
doing?
consider that dangly earrings.
Yeah,
would-
they're cool.
Thank you.
I like those.
Thank you.
I thought they were
appreciate
keys
it.
for a second. Like,
Where you get the keys from?
That's actually your apartment
Yeah.
or your house key. Like,
It's a-
here's,
There's
Hold this up.
purchase. There's Schenectady.
It's gonna be way out of focus there, but it's a
There we
it's
go.
a fish.
Yeah.
Or
It's
no,
a
it's a
parrot.
bird. It's a parrot. From
Yeah.
over here, it looked like a fish. Anyway, so but like you have that moment where they finally they accomplished something, and they were immediately freaking out about all of
Sure.
the other things that they hadn't done.
yeah.
And I was like, take a moment. Like we
Yeah.
have gotten more done today than we have in the past week.
Absolutely.
That's an accomplishment. Like this is a good thing. We're moving
yeah.
forward.
Yeah, right.
And then I was like, holy shit, I need to do that with myself.
Right.
Mm.
yeah.
Holy shit. It's almost like you have to say it out loud
yeah.
and have
That's why writing things down I find very
yeah,
important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. In that mentor role, by helping someone overcome whatever they're
Mhm.
struggling with, you can see the mirror. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's that like mentor and reverse mentor kind of
Yeah.
thing. Because like either way, you are each getting that thing that you fear out of your head and into the open.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's how fears are killed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's at least for me, I view fears as you can conquer fears by getting it out into the open and discussing it. I mean, that's like what therapy is like founded on, right? So like it's just one of those interesting things where we in the last year of the band, and this is kind of a summary of the entire thing, like we dealt with our fears in a way that we never really had before, and not just about the band itself, just about like us as people, us as like artists, us as musicians, us as creatives. Like we really had to, because it wasn't just like our personality dynamics, it was like the situations that we put ourselves in, like touring, for example. That was our first and last time of doing that,
Rest in
in a
peace.
proper way.
That's interesting.
And it was very, and we just went for it. We had to go for it. And touring is one of those things where essentially you put however many people are touring in a pressure cooker for 5 to however many days. For us, 7 days or something, which isn't even that long really in tour. Like
No.
that's like a fraction.
It was
of
like it was like 9, right?
9 days or something. Yeah, but you put everybody in a pressure cooker, and it's like, all right, perform,
Yeah.
sell merch,
Yeah.
get from point A to B, and so on, and like do it all without killing each other.
Yeah,
And-
especially at a DIY level where there's not
Right,
there's
nothing
not
going
there's not
on.
a tour
Right.
manager, there's not
Yeah,
there's not an A&R guy that we can talk to, like
right.
There's not always a crowd.
yeah. Yeah.
There's-
We learned
Yeah,
that from weekday
like we can
shows.
deal with a lot of shit, but like at
Jersey
least there's
sucked. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
other
stuff
band
too.
was rad.
They were great.
They
The
were
bands
cool.
were great every time we hung at the band.
Actually,
Very
yeah,
hard
that's-
to
that's the thing.
promote. Very hard to promote
Yeah.
on tour.
Oh,
like
extremely,
like you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know really what this town is. You don't know.
The first time you tour through, which we realized, we knew, you hear about it in theory from like other
Yeah.
bands or whatever, but like the first time you roll through any town for the first time in that town, it's like
Yeah.
you're not gonna see anything happen unless unless you are already like on, on platforms you've made it. You know what I mean? Like unless you already have that kind of like your song blew up and then you're touring for the first time.
But at like the same time, though, it was very promising and very rewarding when we were on tour in some of these places. Like I know, like one of our last shows was in
Connecticut.
Connecticut, like that one actually went off pretty well. Like there was a crowd, and even the people that,
the Crunch House.
Crunch House.
Yeah, Crunch
Shout out to the Crunch House.
Then like even the people that came out and saw us at Rockwood Music Hall at like 1 a.m. that were still there. They actually really did enjoy it, and that's what made the tour feel so much more rewarding in the sense that we played in front of like 2 people in New Jersey, and like
I think that is
like
the
a
beauty
like a
of
Monday, I mean, like the entire week leading up to it, all the grime and all the work and all the travel, pays off for the events like those.
You have to like self-impose sink or swim. It's like hurling yourself into a body of water you cannot swim in order to learn to swim. It's literally the only way to do it.
There's no plan B.
And that's life.
Yeah, it really is to learn any skill. Anything I've ever done is, and actually it sucks because the hurdle is so big, but also the memories, like I have memories where I'm like, I wish I was in a situation where like I don't know if this is going to work. It feels really good. Actually, it feels very much like, all right, figuring this out and doing this. It's like, I don't know.
Well, Pat touched on the thing earlier of like, we were all talking about it, but like being genuine, like people can tell when you're not all in on something.
Yeah.
So if you're not like, if we weren't, if we get on stage and we're not in it and we're not selling it, then like people are going to tell, and then they're not going to think that it was that good of a show. Right. You know what I mean? And then that's like a potential fan that we just threw away. And in the same way, like, again, like facing the, even like starting a podcast, it's like, you just got to do it. Yeah. And you have to say, okay, well, like if you halfway do it, then you might as well not do it.
Yeah.
Let's turn it around on you for a second. How daunting was starting a podcast for you once you like?
A lot of it was, let's see. I kind of started doing something with a couple guys inside my house with like Blue Yeti.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I quickly was like, I fucking hate this. and it was like, it felt like I was learning. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I feel like it's too political. I feel like it keeps getting into conversations that aren't really what I want to do.
Yeah, that scares the hell out of me. Yeah.
And then I also was like, I really hate doing this in my living room. And I really want to do video because I feel like it will add a whole nother level to it, and it did. It made it way more difficult. The audio would have it makes it like a million times more difficult because you need the space.
Yep.
You need like the cameras. I have to edit it all together. Like if it was just audio, I could just find the beginning, find the end, upload it, done.
Audio editing a podcast is like so easy.
Yeah.
It's like 10 minutes.
Yeah. But the video adds a lot to it, but it helps me figure out, I can tell where I'm at, because if I'm like not really paying attention to the editing, then I'm not releasing something I haven't really figured out how to tighten this up a little bit or like what to cut out, which that makes me go, hold up, but also this space, this was just, I woke up I think Ben was here at the time. And I just woke up one morning. I was like, I'm clearing this out today. This is going to be empty today.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it smells like cat piss up here. Well, let's take care of that tomorrow. And then like, it's really dark in here. What are we going to do for lights? And I put those things up. And then
it's amazing, right? How like the artistic endeavor is like here, and then like everything in between that it takes to get to that point, and it's just like chipping away. Like like to get to the podcast. Along the way, I had to clear out some cat piss.
Yeah,
that was a legitimate step in what you had to do. Just like for playing to 1,000 empty rooms is like, that's like a thing that you need to do for like music at some point. It's just kind of interesting how like those have value.
The camera has been on for 3 hours and 6 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. We're not going to publish all this. So
I'm going to have to cut out.
It's been about 3.5 hours, maybe more.
I'm only going to keep the part while you guys went pee.
Yeah,
it's like the only part of
it's just us talking like over here.
While the audio,
you guys in the background trying to figure each other out still while Alex and I are taking it.
Also, while you guys were eating before we really started, I'll keep that in, and then just the pee, and then I'll be like, "Sorry, this podcast was shit. I had to cut everything out."
Whenever they talked, it was
these guys
terrible.
are garbage. I'm glad they broke up.
Yeah, it's funny. You're here. It's what I thought this was gonna go way more like on a serious note than or not
Hi,
serious, but
puppy.
I thought we were just gonna be more like
No,
just
Skip,
like
that's mine.
taking the layers of the band. But it's so funny how and you've seen it with us, our three too. Like our dynamic, yeah, we can get real serious and real meta, but like we also just like most of the time just
Shitpost.
messed around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't control it. It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm actually kind of glad because in a way, you guys literally had a reunion in my living room.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Like,
I
really.
watched it happen, so I'm glad you guys had an opportunity. I took some of your time away from you where you happen to all be here,
Yeah.
and I feel like at least you guys got to goof around and joke around and have a good time with each other.
Like the old
It felt
days.
great.
It was
doing
great.
this,
Yeah.
honestly.
Like the old days.
Cool.
Well, and I mean, it's like we touched on earlier, like we didn't stop as a band because we
Yeah.
had any like falling out or anything. Like Kyle, the
No.
guy that was playing drums for us, like
He got busy.
Yeah, like
got real busy.
he's doing a lot. Like, and
Yeah.
so none of us have like I love these guys so much, and I'm super grateful for it. So when I see them, I'm like I feel nothing but excited, and I
Seems
know
like
that
a-
like whatever we're moving, like like I've gotten to give a bunch of like mixed feedback to Pat on like his new tracks
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and the like same thing like the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever any of us is working on something, it's still like
Yeah,
having-
the band is just a jumping off point for our friendships in a
that's
lot
what
of ways.
I was
Like
gonna say, this-
we're gonna. I think we all understand that we're kind of for the rest of our lives we're kind of like ride or die. I think.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
see
mean?
what I see what the band has done is just give everyone a launching pad to do everything in their own way, no matter where
Absolutely.
they go,
A
whether
lot
it's
of
musically,
self-discovery.
whether it's individualistic, or
That's what I meant
anything,
by you
you
and the
know?
Chromoscope guys made a different decision, but
Yeah.
the same decision.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
all
yeah.
decided this is what I want to do.
yeah.
Just this isn't the project.
It's not
Like
Right,
this isn't,
yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't the project. But I've made some really good friends, and on a practical level, you have networking.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you know
absolutely.
each other. You can be like, hey, I'd like to do a show. You're in Boston. I'd like to do a
Yeah.
show in Boston.
Yeah.
Can you hook me up with somebody? Like, is there anybody I could?
we
Yeah.
know a bunch of bands
Yeah.
in Boston.
Could
Yeah.
you could you help me?
Yeah.
I
How
almost
do I promote this
Yeah.
here? Like who should
yeah
I talk to?
yeah no
Like,
good. That's the thing. Good fiction. Like I'm so thankful for legitimately thankful for everything that we've like toiled in and like all of like all three of us like even when we started out because it's one of those like you look back and in the moments you were like this is ridiculous like why are we doing this but like really it all does add up for like character building like networking and yeah even like I almost randomly which is funny I almost played drums for this band opening up for Palehound. Palehound at all. They're like really big. She's like she goes under the name Palehound or whatever. They're like huge as far as like indie rock. But because this band that I know of in Boston like texted me a few weeks ago, didn't end up happening, but it was like one of those cool like we met them through via Good Fiction. We did a show swap with them on tour. They opened up for us.
Wait,
and
who,
now
the
they're
Dutch
like
Tulips?
Dutch Tulips, yeah.
Oh.
And now they're like my boys in that area. Like I don't know anybody else really
awesome.
in music, and it's like they are kind of specifically the drummer Matt. He's kind of like he's somebody that I'll text every now and again, and he's kind of like anything that comes I'll like send it your way if it like is up your alley, and I'm like thank you,
Yeah, it's really
because I'm not
cool.
connected there yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
the first show I played with Good Fiction was with them, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah,
yes, yeah.
these guys are cool.
You can't get away. Networking is vital in every industry.
And a lot of people look at it as like a dirty word.
No, but
it's really
it's
like-
not. It just means I know people. I've had good interactions with people in this industry.
Yeah,
Who are willing
Yeah.
to vouch for me in some
absolutely.
capacity.
Yeah, yeah.
That's- you need that. It's a social aspect of business. You're not an island.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to like the whole like hyper individualistic attitude that we have sometimes,
Yeah.
like as Americans, of like I'm going to pull myself up by my own straps or whatever, and like do it all myself. And it's like no. Like any industry, you live in an ecosystem where we all need to kind of just like help each other.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's interesting. But wow,
Wow.
Hey, guys. What do you say?
Wow.
Well,
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
thanks for
Thank
having
you
us.
for
Thank
having
you. For,
us.
this was
Oh my
actually
gosh.
this was. I'm not
The
even joking when I
meal,
say
the
this was
place,
probably the
oh my
best
gosh.
like turkey like Thanksgiving turkey sandwich that I've ever had.
glad that was
The
pretty-
Pilgrim,
you
I
like
guess.
it. Yeah, Pilgrim.
The
Yeah.
Pilgrim. Yeah, this is like
Colonizers. Yeah.
the
Yes, the colonizer
The
sandwich.
colonizer.
Oh shit.
See, now we're gonna get
Cancel.
canceled.
Whoa.
No, saying colonizer is woke. Don't worry.